Chapter 673. In Rebirth's quest setting, defeating the boss did not necessarily mean that the quest was completed. Sometimes, even if the boss was defeated, the quest item would be snatched away, and the quest would still be considered a failure. From the moment Doke revealed himself, he had been aiming for Orc King Emperor June's head. So, if Doke kept Orc King Emperor June's head, the quest would definitely not be completed. The Resurrection Totem's time limit was slightly more than a minute. With the Resurrection Totem around, no matter how powerful Wuji and the others were, they would not be able to break through the Sunset Magic Ape's defense. Doke's speed was neither fast nor slow. It was enough for him to pick up the head before the Resurrection Totem disappeared. F***CK. Doke is coming this way. He's going to forcefully pick up the item. The Quanjin members realized Doke's intention when they saw him recklessly heading their way. If he really continued to fight with Wang Yu, even if Doke activated his status, he might not be able to beat Wang Yu. However, Doke was determined to pick up the quest item, so it was hard to say. The system settings were really scoundrelly. Quick, control him. Thinking up to this point, Quan Jun's members hurriedly used their control skills on Doke in an attempt to slow him down. However, be it Chunxiang's Darkness Barrier or Exquisite Dreams, Shadow Binding Arrows, none of them had any effect on Doke. F***CK. It really is absolute dominance. Everyone was shocked when they saw this scene. Not only did Doke not get affected by grab skills, but he was also immune to control skills like Dark Barrier. Absolute dominance truly lived up to its name. Seeing Duo-Ku approaching step by step, Yin Lao, and Bao San lower their heads and charged at Duo-Ku. Seeing the two charging at him, Duo-Ku swung the long sword in his hand and threw out a sword draw slash. The arc-shaped sword light hit Yin Lao and Bao San's head squarely. The two were struck by the sword light, and their HP immediately dropped to the bottom. They were stunned. Doke turned his hand diagonally, and the two were cut into white light. This guy will retaliate against those who are in his aggro range. Wang Yu was slightly surprised. At this moment, Mingjian Dao Xue and Baiming Yoyu's figures appeared behind Doke, both stabbing their daggers into Doke's lower back. Doke grabbed his sword with both hands and twisted his body, activating Whirlwind Slash. Fish Norsea's reaction was fast, and her technique was good. She hurriedly dodged the Whirlwind Slash when Doke raised his hand. She then rolled backwards and recovered, disappearing like a wisp of smoke. Fortunately, Doke didn't care about aggro right now. Otherwise, if he followed up with another slash, Fish North Sea definitely wouldn't be able to escape. Famous Sword Dao Xue, on the other hand, was not so lucky. He did not even have the time to use Vanish before Doke's sword struck his waist. The skin of assassins was even thinner than that of Grandmasters of Combat. Even Yin Lao could not take care of himself with a single slash, let alone Ming Qin Dao Xue. Ming Qin Dao Xue was sliced in half at the waist on the spot, turning into white light and disappearing. Seeing Doke cut down 3 people in a row, Quan Jin's members were once again dumbfounded. When they saw Wang Yu trampling on Doke, they all thought that Doke was only SOSO. Only after this exchange did they understand how powerful Wang Yu's opponent was in a one-on-one duel. To place one's pride, who was following behind Doke, originally wanted to take the opportunity to use a shadow chain kick to escape. However, when he saw this scene, he turned around and used collapsing fist to run back the way he came. In just a single exchange, Quan Jun's melee players were completely annihilated. Wuji also revealed a rare expression of panic. After spending so much time with Wang Yu, the members of the Quan Jun sect started to take it for granted when they saw bosses. One had to know that even a normal silver-ranked epic boss would have to risk their lives to kill it, not to mention a high-level Dark Gold ranked epic boss. Sure enough, an existence of this level was not something current players could hope to touch. No matter how good one's schemes were, they would be helpless against such absolute power. Just when everyone was at a loss for what to do, they suddenly heard Wang Yu shout, "Everyone, don't control him. Attack him. Attack him? Is that okay?" Hearing Wang Yu shout, Mingdu could not help but ask. After playing the game for so long, Everyone knew that elite and above bosses had two types of aggro. One was unstable, and the other was locked. When the aggro was unstable, once the boss was attacked, there was a possibility that it would attack all targets within its aggro range. When it was locked, it would attack a target regardless of everything. The first state was the most difficult for players to control. That was why when Wang Yu and Doke were fighting one-on-one, no one dared to attack rashly. They were afraid that the aggro would become unstable and disrupt Wang Yu's rhythm. At this time, although Doke's aggro had changed, his aggro was clearly locked onto Orc King Dejuan's head. If Doke had locked onto someone, he could have dragged Doke around the world. However, Orc King Dejuan's head was a dead object. Unless they killed Doke before he reached his head, there was no other way. Currently, Doke still had 30% HP and was less than 20 meters away from Orc King Dejuan's head. In this situation, it was simply impossible to kill Doke before he picked up his head. Moreover, with such a close distance, once Doke attacked everyone, with his speed and attack power, none of them would be able to escape. Of course, if they could slow down Doke's advance or make him stand still, they would have enough time and space to deal damage. However, with absolute hegemon, Doke would not be affected by any crowd control or grab. It would not be easy to stop him. "Don't worry, I can stop him." As Wang Yu spoke, she took a big stride forward and chased after him. Doke sensed that someone was attacking him from behind. He turned around and swung his sword. Wang Yu dodged Doke's attack and took a step forward. He turned around and stuck close to Doke's back. He then shouted to Wuji and the others, "Attack! This! Do you want to die?" Dream Butterfly's voice trembled when she saw Wang Yu standing back to back with Doke. It had to be known that famous sword Dao Xue had been killed behind Doke's back. However, the next moment, Ling Longming finally understood what Wuji had just said. After Wang Yu leaned against Doke's back, he did not attack. Instead, he stood close to Doke. Doke subconsciously turned around and swung his sword. Wang Yu had his back against Doke, so he did not need to predict where Doke would turn. His feet were close to Doke's feet, and he turned as Doke turned. When Doke turned around, Wang Yu followed closely to the other side. Doke missed again. Damn, as expected of Old Cow. Seeing Wang Yu's actions, Wuji's eyes lit up. Elite and above bosses were very intelligent. They would not allow players to control the cooldowns of their skills. So, when they used their skills, they would first find a target and release them accurately. When players were in a boss's blind spot, if they did not initiate an attack, the boss would not use its skills. As a result, the difficulty of the challenge increased significantly. Chapter 674. Of course, everyone understood this logic. However, they didn't even dare to think about doing it. Doke was an epic boss. Wouldn't it be the same as touching a tiger's? But if they weren't careful, they wouldn't even know how they died. Wang Yu's courage stemmed from his confidence in his own strength. Wang Yu was like a painting stuck to Doke's back. No matter how Doke turned around, Wang Yu would stick to Doke's back like a shadow, making it impossible for him to attack. This scene was simply too strange. If they didn't know that the boss had this characteristic, they would have thought that Doke had gone crazy. Seeing Wang Yu entangled with Doke, Quan Zhen's team didn't remain idle. They fired magic arrows at Doke. After the first wave of attacks landed, Doke was stunned. He abandoned Wang Yu and continued to advance. Wang Yu arrived in front of Doke and slapped him in the face. Doke retaliated with a swing of his sword, but Wang Yu stuck to Doke's back again, spinning him in circles. When Quan Zhen's skills cooldown ended, they launched another wave of attacks. Just like that, Wang Yu was in charge of pulling Doke, while everyone else was in charge of dealing damage. Every time Doke wanted to advance, Wang Yu would find a way to stick to his back again, creating an environment for everyone to deal damage. When Doke was less than 5 meters away from Dejuan's head, his HP finally fell to rock bottom. With a furious roar, he transformed into a streak of light and flew away, leaving behind a pile of glowing top-tier equipment. After Doke died, the resurrection totem still had 1 minute left. Although it was out of control, the setting Sun Demonic Ape instinctively stood guard. At this moment, no one was in the mood to care about the quest items. In any case, they couldn't be retrieved or dropped. Everyone's attention was on the pile of items Doke had dropped. Doke was an epic boss. There was no cap on the items he dropped at the very least. There was even a possibility of him dropping epic equipment. Old cow, what did you drop? What did you drop? Everyone asked, crowding around Phone. Wang Yu picked up the items on the ground and shared the attribute reduction information in the guild channel. He only had one piece of equipment, a two-handed greatsword. Beast King's hunting blade, greatsword, dark gold, attack, 380-400 mana, 180-200 plus 50 strength, plus 50 physique hunt, passive skill. Every 3 attacks on a target will be marked with a red, yellow, and blue hunt mark. Red mark, target movement speed reduced by 30%. Yellow mark, target's physical and magic defense reduced by 30%. Blue mark, target's attack speed is reduced by 30%. Marks can be stacked. Bounty, passive skill, drop rate of killed targets increased by 30%. Gale, active skill, attack speed, and movement speed increased by 30% for 15 seconds. Required class, warrior level requirement, 50 item introduction, bounty hunter doke sword. After being baptized by the Beast King's blood, its grade has increased. From the item description, it wasn't hard to understand that this sword was originally a gold tier weapon. Because Doke had forcefully increased its rank, the sword had also increased its rank to become a dark gold weapon. The increase in rank only increased the sword's main stats. The additional stats didn't increase. In fact, there were only 3 of them. It was a genuine fake dark gold weapon. Of course, even though it was a fake dark gold weapon, the additional stats weren't bad. The tricolored marks debuff and Gale's buff were very outstanding. It was very suitable for a weapon like Bao San, who put points into agility. The most precious thing was that this sword had a passive effect of increasing its drop rate. In this game where the drop rate was low, it could be said to be very rare. Oh, a pretty good fake dark gold weapon. I'll leave it for Bao San, Wang Yu mumbled as he stuffed it into his bag. The second item was a skill book. Taming Art, special skill, allows the user to tame monsters or monster cubs as their battle pets. Required class, Hunter. Damn, it's Taming Art. Everyone couldn't help but cry out when they saw the skill book. Anyone who had played online games before would know the importance of a pet to an archer. It wasn't just for Western fantasy classes. Even in Eastern Wuxiao online games, the fragile archer needed a pet to pull aggro. As the saying went, an archer without a pet was like a tank without a taunt. Their game life was incomplete. However, Rebirth didn't have a pet system from the start. The archer class didn't even have a pet bar. As a result, the awe-inspiring archer who could solo and kite were basically half-crippled. They could only bully the even more crippled Grandmaster of Combat. In other online games, the archer taming art was a rare and expensive skill. Not to mention in Rebirth, everyone in Xuanzhen was a wily old fox. Naturally, they understood the value of this thing. If this was put up for auction, it would be at least 1,000 gold. To place one's pride asked while drooling. Famous sword Dao Shui was dead. No one had any authority on the market price. They could only rely on guesses. Mingdu said with disdain, "Little chick, your vision is too shallow. This is probably the only taming art in the entire game. How can you buy it with 1,000 gold? It's at least 1,500 gold. TSK, I'm rich." To place one's pride was excited. Watch your words. We're the ones who got rich. Mingdo corrected. How we split this book? Wang Yu asked Exquisite Dream and Yang Na while holding the taming art book. The archer class was divided into archer and stealth. The advanced classes were hunter and survivor. Although Exquisite Dream was from the hidden branch, she also belonged to the hunter class. Exquisite Dream could learn taming art. Yang Na was the archer hero class, demon hunter. She could learn all the skills of the hunter and survivor classes. Naturally, she could also learn this book. These two girls weren't like the others. They were both warriors, but Yin Lao, Air, and Bao San had different paths. They were both thieves. Famous or Dao Shui had a lot of good stuff. Bai Ming Yoyu and Bai Ming Yoyu had something to discuss. However, the Quanjin sect had given out the least amount of archer equipment. Normally, the two of them would only give share of the money, but not the equipment. At this time, an archer equipment suddenly appeared, but both of them could use it. This was quite awkward. "I don't need it," Yang Na looked at the introduction of taming art and said indifferently. Yang Na walked the path of a close combat archer. She always rolled up her sleeves and fought by herself. Pets were indeed useless. Exquisite Dream was a very awkward girl. Seeing that Yang Na voluntarily gave up, she didn't show any weakness and said, "I don't need it either." This girl didn't even think about it. She was an archer with low intelligence. How could she live without a pet? F***CK. What's wrong with you two? Why are you being modest at this time? Wuji's forehead was full of black lines as he stuffed the book into Exquisite Dream's hands. "Why are you giving it to me?" Exquisite Dream said unhappily. Wuji pointed at Yang Na and said, "She really doesn't need it." "Why?" "Because they're the same kind of people." Wuji pointed at Wang Yu. Chapter 675. The next two stones were called meteorite stones, which were rare minerals. Wang Yu was the only one in the Chuanjin group who was proficient in forging. Since Wang Yu did not study this thing, the others did not study it either, so no one was curious about what it was used for. However, the last item attracted everyone's attention. It looked like a skill book, but it didn't have any skill attributes. There were no words on the cover either. Everyone used detection to see the item's introduction. Incomplete martial skills. Randomly obtain a remnant page of an advanced skill book. This is actually a skill book page, Chun Xiang said in surprise when he saw the skill book's introduction. Incomplete skill book pages were very common items in normal online games. Players obtained them through quests. After collecting a set, they could synthesize or exchange for a complete skill book. As for the skill book's grade, it depended on the player's luck. However, in Rebirth, all incomplete items were almost all high-level items. A typical example would be an epic or legendary weapon shard. A single shard was useless, but after collecting it, it would be a priceless treasure. Chun Xiang was very familiar with the skill book remnant pages. During the closed beta, his Summon Imp skill was synthesized from the skill book remnant pages. In order to gather the skill book remnant pages, Chun Xiang had put in a lot of effort. Naturally, the effect of the skill was quite abnormal. Although no one had seen it before, they had heard of it. When they saw that the thing in Wang Yu's hands was the legendary skill page, they hurriedly urged, "Old cow, quickly open it and see what skill it is." Wang Yu stretched out his hand and opened the skill page. Then, a shining skill book fell into Wang Yu's hands. Army Breaking Dragon Slash. Incomplete 1/3 epic skill. Collides with the enemy and knocks the enemy back, causing the target to be stunned in the air. An ultimate skill that pursues the enemy in the air. Lacks. Fierce Dragon Slash. Triple Slash. Required class. Weapon Master, an epic weapon battle skill. When they saw the skill introduction in Wang Yu's hands, they didn't know what to say. It was actually an epic skill page. Everyone knew that every class had their own epic skills, and every skill was unique. In other words, once someone learned the Army Breaker Dragon Slash, there wouldn't be a second person who knew this skill. Although the current Army Breaker Dragon Slash was only a fragment, Bao San had already learned Triple Slash. When he reached level 50 and learned Fierce Dragon Slash, he would be able to learn this skill. It had to be known that Triple Slash was also an epic martial technique, and Ferocious Dragon Space Slash was one of the strongest skills a warrior could learn. Breaking the Army Dragon Strike required these two skills as prerequisites. Naturally, its might was self-evident. As expected of an epic-ranked warrior boss, almost all of the items it dropped were for warriors. Nyogo, were we going to kill a few magical class epic bosses? Mingdu asked, his eyes bloodshot. To place one's pride, it wasn't just place one's pride. After seeing this skill book, everyone from Quanzhun felt an itch in their hearts. They wished they could find a few other bosses to kill. Killing the boss isn't a problem. The key is that you have to know where the boss is, Wang Yu said with a smile. Bosses were a rare species, and epic rank bosses were even more precious than pandas. Moreover, it was an epic rank boss that could only be found by chance. It wasn't something that could be easily killed. Mingdu said almost reflexively, "Great Mage Reynolds. He's at least legendary ranked, right?" Hearing this, Wang Yu was speechless. He didn't know how unlucky Reynolds was to have accepted such a B***TCH as a disciple. How about it? Do you want to think of a way to deal with him? Mingdu clenched his fist and said excitedly, "Get lost. If you want to go, go yourself." Everyone gave Mingdu the finger. Just as everyone was talking, the resurrection totem's time was up. The dusk demonic apes disappeared. This was a special characteristic of the resurrection totem. Once the resurrection totem's time was up, the revived unit would still die and disappear. All right, stop talking nonsense. Old you, go and pick up the quest item. Wuji pointed in the direction of Emperor Jun's head and said to Baiming Yuyu, who was closest to the quest item. Okay. Baiming Yuyu nodded and ran to the head with swift movement. Just as she was about to reach out to pick it up, Emperor Jun's head suddenly disappeared. Then, a figure appeared where Emperor Jun's head had disappeared. Give it back. Baiming Yuyu was shocked to see that the quest item had been stolen. She instinctively raised her dagger and stabbed it. Hee, are you the prodigal sword Daoxue or the lackey Baiming Yuyu? That person sneered and asked. At the same time, he also took out a dagger and used it to block in front of his chest. Dang, he blocked Baiming Yuyu's dagger, then lifted his leg and kicked Baiming Yuyu's stomach. Kick was a minor control skill of the assassin class. It had the special effect of repelling and interrupting spells. Baiming Yuyu fell to the ground. Baiming Yuyu reacted quickly. After falling to the ground, she quickly rolled and disappeared into the air. Trying to use stealth in front of me? You're still too inexperienced. The stranger sneered again. He lowered his body and threw out a circle of lime powder with his left hand. Baiming Yuyu's figure immediately appeared beside him. Then, the person suddenly sped up and went behind Baiming Yuyu. He used chisel on the back of Baiming Yuyu's head, followed by backstab and slitting throat. After a series of skills, Baiming Yuyu was killed on the spot. The fight between assassins was that simple and clean. No matter how skilled an expert was, it was still a matter of one move. It was either you die or I die. From the moment the person appeared to the moment Baiming Yuyu was killed, only 2 sentences had passed. The Chuanjin people were sitting on the ground and resting. By the time they reacted, Baiming Yuyu had already turned into white light and disappeared. Who are you? Seeing that Baiming Yuyu had been killed, everyone quickly stood up and looked at the person in shock. Baiming Yuyu was not a weakling. After all, to be able to survive in Chuanjin, strength was definitely the #1 priority. With Baiming Yuyu's skill level and reputation as the mercenary king, even experts in the professional circle would not have an easy time killing him. This stranger knew Baiming Yuyu and also knew Sword Daoxue. It could be seen that he knew the background of the people in Chuanjin. Since he dared to come out at this time to kill and steal, he was definitely not a nobody. That person did not answer Chuanjin's questions. Instead, he smiled and said, Chuanjin, right? To be able to complete an S-rank quest with just a few people, you're truly extraordinary. Wuji stared at that person and said, since you know it's a quest item, hurry up and return it. A quest item was only useful to those who had a quest on them. To those without a quest, the Beast King's head was just a part of the corpse. Chapter 676. What do you mean? As soon as the man finished speaking, Wuji's face darkened. From a moment he started killing people, this guy was full of hostility. If it weren't for the fact that he was holding Beast King Di Jun's head, the people from the Quanjun sect wouldn't have bothered to talk to him. Now that this guy was holding onto the head, his purpose was clear. He was either deliberately looking for trouble, or he wanted to blackmail them. Coincidentally, these two things were what Chuanjin liked to do. Now that the roles were reversed, Wuji and the others had a different feeling in their hearts. Of course, if Chuanjin could do this to others, they had to allow others to do the same to themselves. This was how the game worked. Everything depended on one's ability. If one was willing to bet, one had to be willing to lose. After all, everyone played the game to bully others and have fun. No one was here to play the game. If they were afraid of being bullied, they could open the game modifier and play the standalone game. Nothing. The assassin smiled and said, although this chicken is a quest boss, it should have dropped something. How about it? Everyone who sees it gets a share. Sure enough, He was here to blackmail them. Wu Ji snorted coldly. You guessed wrong. Other than its head, nothing else was left of this chicken. Is that so? What if I don't believe you? The assassin stared at Wu Ji and said, I see that your equipment is pretty good. You mean you want our equipment? Before Wu Ji could reply, Wang Yu stood up and asked, You're Iron Ox, right? I heard that you're very good. The man asked after seeing Wang Yu. Yes. Wang Yu nodded. Huh, you're not humble at all. Do you really think that you're a master just because you defeated a few unorthodox players? The assassin said disdainfully, I've seen a lot of people like you. Wang Yu was speechless. He whispered to Wu Ji, Why does this guy sound so superior? Who gave him the courage? Wu Ji said gravely, This guy is probably a professional esports expert. Professional competitive experts were the highest level of existence in the game. After all, these people were a competitive group for a living. Their skills were on a completely different level from normal players. Although there were quite a few expert players in the game, when compared to pro-level experts, they were still unorthodox and couldn't enter the eyes of others. As a result, pro-level experts looked at normal experts as if they were professionals looking at amateurs, filled with a sense of superiority. What do you say? Why don't you trade your equipment for the quest item? The assassin challenged. You want my equipment? That depends on whether you have the ability or not. Wang Yu said as he walked over. The Chuanjin people shouted from behind, Old cow, be careful. Don't kill him. Otherwise, we won't be able to find our quest item. I'll be careful. Wang Yu smiled. He sped up and charged at the assassin. A Grandmaster of Combat wants to fight me one-on-one? You didn't see what happened to your companion. The assassin hadn't finished speaking when Wang Yu rushed in front of him and punched at his head. The assassin reacted quickly. Seeing Wang Yu pounce at him, he grabbed the hilt of his dagger with one hand and the blade with the other, blocking Wang Yu's attack. Apart from wrestlers, Grandmasters of Combat generally didn't have high priority. Wang Yu's attack was a normal attack. After being blocked by the assassin, it didn't cause any substantial damage. However, although the assassin blocked the attack, he was also knocked back several meters by Wang Yu's punch. His body swayed and quickly disappeared into thin air. Just when the assassin thought that Wang Yu couldn't do anything to him, he saw Wang Yu reach forward and grab his head. Seeing this scene, the assassin was slightly shocked. You actually know anti-stealth. No wonder you dare to fight me one-on-one. Saying that, the assassin raised his dagger to slash at Wang Yu's arm. Wang Yu calmly flipped his hand, bypassing the assassin's dagger and grabbing the assassin's wrist. Then, with a forceful lift, the assassin involuntarily turned his back and was stepped on by Wang Yu. As Wang Yu was afraid of killing this guy, he didn't use any skills or strength. He just used a simple grappling technique. Unexpectedly, this assassin was quite tough. After being stepped on by Wang Yu, he pulled out a dagger with his other hand and stabbed it behind him. Wang Yu dodged to the side. The assassin took the opportunity to quick recover. The dagger carried a green flame as it slashed at Wang Yu, who was still holding his wrist. Poison Blade, a level 30 assassin skill. It had a very strong attack and also had a poison attack. Wang Yu knew how powerful this skill was. As such, he let go of the assassin's wrist and jumped back a step. At that moment, the assassin's body leaned back, 1 foot on the ground, and he used ankle shatter to kick Wang Yu's calf. Seeing this, Wang Yu turned around and took another 2 steps back, increasing the distance between them. Seeing Wang Yu retreat, the assassin didn't follow. Instead, he quickly retreated, running out of Wang Yu's attack range. What a strong assassin! Seeing the assassin run away, Wang Yu couldn't help but inwardly praise. Wang Yu could be considered a veteran of hundreds of battles. He had seen countless assassins, but he had never seen such a strong one. To be able to forcefully break free from his grappling technique, it could be seen that the assassin's reaction speed and skills were not to be underestimated. Bai Mingyu was also a rare expert, but compared to the person in front of him, she was slightly inferior. At this moment, the assassin's heart was incomparably shocked. As a professional expert, this person had a very thorough understanding of the various classes. Moreover, The players around him were also outstanding figures of their respective classes. However, looking at everyone he knew, he had never seen someone as strange as Wang Yu. Although the two had only fought for 2 rounds, the danger they had faced was absolutely unimaginable. Even so, Wang Yu hadn't used a skill. If Wang Yu had used a skill, he wouldn't have just been pinned down. After re-evaluating Wang Yu, the assassin opened his mouth and said, "Iron Ox, you live up to your reputation. Are you returning the item or not?" Wang Yu asked, staring at the assassin. The assassin said, "I feel that with your skills, you shouldn't mingle with this motley crew. Do you want to join us? Cut the crap and return the item to me." At this moment, Wang Yu was a little annoyed. The moment this assassin appeared, he had been acting strange and annoying. Not only had he stolen Xuanjin's quest item, but now he had even called Xuanjin a motley crew in front of Wang Yu. This had triggered Wang Yu's anger. No matter what, Xuanjin's people were still friends who had helped Wang Yu. Even if they were a motley crew, only Wang Yu could say that. Who did this guy think he was to dare say such words? "Hee, do you really think I'm here to steal your quest item?" The assassin sneered and said, "This time, I'm here to let you motley crew know that there's always someone better out there. In the future, don't be so arrogant." Chapter 677. This guy is quite strong. Why doesn't he have any gaming knowledge? He actually dared to stand where I was just now. Seeing that Wang Yu had died, the assassin revealed a very surprised expression. Then, the assassin walked up and picked up the items that Wang Yu had dropped. After seeing the attributes of the items, a hint of surprise appeared on his face. F***CK. What's going on? Did old cow kill that bastard? Seeing the white light on the battlefield, Mingdu could not help but yell. Moreover, he said in a somewhat reproachful tone, F***CK. Didn't I tell him to keep him alive? Xuanjin's quest item was in the hands of the assassin. If the assassin was dead, there was no way to find it. At this time, Wuji saw that Wang Yu's portrait in the party had darkened and exclaimed, "No, that's not right. The one who died is Old Cow." "Old Cow? Wuji, are you sure you're not mistaken?" After hearing Wuji's words, everyone opened the party column. As expected, Wang Yu's portrait had turned gray. Seeing Wang Yu's gray portrait, everyone broke out in a cold sweat. F***CK. How is this possible? Uncle Nyo couldn't defeat that guy. The place one's pride said in shock. In the game, many players knew that Wang Yu was strong. However, those who had truly witnessed Wang Yu's strength were only Xuanjin and a few others. He was a ruthless character who could solo an epic rank boss. Just a moment ago, he had even pressed a boss to the ground and beat it up. Now, he was actually killed by an assassin. Just who was this assassin? Wuji frowned and said, "Although that assassin is strong, from the way he fought with Old Cow, he is only slightly stronger than Old Cow. He is definitely not a match for Old Cow. This time, Old Cow must have been tricked. F***CK, let's go and avenge Old Cow." Mingdu shouted and ran in the direction of the assassin. "I'll go too." To place one's pride followed closely behind. Seeing this, the others also took out their weapons and followed behind them. At this moment, several arrows suddenly flew out from the forest behind the assassin. Mingdu was caught off guard and was hit in the head by an arrow. He turned into light and disappeared. To place one's pride reacted quickly. With a wave of his hand, he swatted away the arrow flying toward his head. However, just as to place one's pride was about to turn around and move in an S shape, another arrow flew over and shot to place one's pride in the throat. To place one's pride was killed on the spot. Not good, there's an ambush. Everyone, hide in the forest. Seeing Mingdu, to place one's pride die one after another, Wuji let out a loud roar and turned around to run into the forest. However, how could a cleric outrun arrows? After running a few steps, Wuji was hit in the back of his head and turned into a ball of white light. At a range of more than 20 meters, the enemy was able to hit a moving target with every arrow. The strength of the enemy's archer was truly rare. The Quanjin sect was also ambushed, allowing the enemy to gain the upper hand. As a result, the Quanjin sect was caught unprepared. At the same time that Wu Ji was shot, Ling Longming and Chun Xiang were also struck by the arrows and fell to the ground. They didn't even know where the enemy was. In less than 10 seconds, Xuanjin was annihilated. Yang Na was the only one left. Yang Na's movements were graceful. She dodged several arrows flying toward her, retaliating as she retreated. Just as Yang Na was about to retreat into the forest, she suddenly felt a chill on her back. Her health bar dropped to the bottom. With an unwilling expression, she turned into a ball of white light. Then, the figure of a gray-clothed assassin appeared. Damn, this girl is pretty fierce. She can even dodge blood rain and blood-red arrows. The gray-clothed assassin mumbled to himself. He then turned to the assassin who had just killed Wang Yu and shouted, F***CKU, Blood Wolf. Why did you run so fast? You made us chase after you. Hee, luckily I ran fast. Otherwise, when you stupid dogs arrived, they would have already left. The assassin who appeared first laughed. So his name was Blood Wolf. Is this the legendary Xuanjin? Looks like it's nothing much. At this time, 2 archers walked out from the forest behind Blood Wolf. One of them was dressed in red and was as thin as a bamboo pole. All right, didn't they say that there was a very strong grandmaster of combat? Why didn't I see him? The other archer asked. Uffed, Blood Wolf said disdainfully. What kind of bullsh *T expert is he? I killed him easily. Really? Blood Wolf, you're not bragging, right? I heard that kid can fight 100 people. The other assassin said doubtfully. I'm not like you, Bloodthorn, who likes to put gold on your face when you have nothing better to do. If I've killed him, then I've killed him. Look, this is the loot. Blood Wolf said as he took out a skill book and waved it in front of everyone. Oh my, you're lucky. The others showed a look of envy when they saw this. Of course. Blood Wolf smiled proudly. The tall archer looked around and then said, Okay, let's go. Those guys in Xuanjin are vengeful. They will definitely come back for revenge later. Let's go to other places to ambush them. Let's go. What bullsh *TU Huiching's first guild? They can't even withstand a single blow from us. As the 4 of them spoke, they turned around and disappeared into the woods. As soon as the 4 people left, a head emerged from the grass. It was Wu Ji. Wu Ji was quite insidious. When he turned to run, Wu Ji had already cast invincibility on himself. After being hit by the arrow, he released a holy light spell and then lay on the grass. The white light of light magic was similar to the white light of death. The 4 people just now were only focused on the others and did not react for a while. Wu Ji looked around and saw the 4 people go far away. He waved the staff in his hand and cast fly. He quickly floated to the place where Wang Yu died, and then the staff pointed to the ground and chanted. With Wu Ji's casting, a huge cross fell from the sky. The light dissipated, and Wang Yu reappeared in the same place. Resurrection can resurrect the specified target within 1 minute of death. This was a rare skill that Wu Ji learned a long time ago. He didn't expect the first person to be resurrected was Wang Yu, who was the least likely to die in Xuanjin. Damn, luckily I made it in time. Wu Ji wiped his sweat. If he delayed any longer, Wang Yu would automatically resurrect. At that time, even if Wu Ji used resurrection, it would be useless. Huh? What happened to me? Am I being controlled? After appearing in the same place, Wang Yu asked foolishly. After a player died, they would be in a soul state for 1 minute. After 1 minute, the player would automatically resurrect at the resurrection point. Of course, players could choose to resurrect immediately. Wang Yu had never died before. He thought that he had been hit by some strange skill, so he didn't look for the resurrection option and waited foolishly. Control my ass. You were killed. Wu Ji said. Killed? That's impossible. How did I die? Wang Yu was dumbfounded. Nothing had happened to him just now. How'd he die just like that? This was too strange. Wu Ji said, You don't even know how you died. How would I know? You could just open the battle log and look at the death record. Oh, right. Wang Yu nodded, opened the battle log, and flipped to the last message. Chapter 678. Time Bomb. Damn it. Wu Ji saw Wang Yu's battle log and almost vomited blood on the spot. What are you thinking? How did you get killed by this thing? When did you go blind? Wuji covered his face and looked sad. Time bomb was a common skill for thieves. It was cheap to make and had insane power. Although this thing was very destructive, very few people would learn this skill. This was because this thing wasn't like other potions that could be thrown on the ground. It had to be placed on the ground, and it would only explode after 10 seconds. Thieves were famous for their explosive damage. If they were to place it on the ground and wait for 10 seconds, they would have killed the target several times over. Moreover, this thing was big. It was like a rock on the ground. As long as one wasn't blind, no one would step on it. Not to mention players, even a boss with a bit of brain would avoid this thing. That was why this skill was called the most useless skill for thieves. Just now, when Bloodwolf was pressed to the ground by Wang Yu, he casually threw one. He originally wanted Wang Yu to take a detour and buy some time for him to retreat. Who knew that Wang Yu would stand there foolishly without any intention of moving away? At that time, Wang Yu's chi shield had already been destroyed by Doke. Without any skills to protect himself, he was directly blown to death. It was an unjust death. Wang Yu was depressed. How the hell would I know there was a bomb in the grass? The grass could hide Wuji alone, so it wasn't hard to hide a bomb. Where's your killing intent? Didn't you feel that someone wanted to kill you? Killing intent, my ass. He threw it on the ground and not on me. How would I feel it? Wang Yu was depressed. Wuji said, when that bastard was on the ground, you should have thought that he would throw this thing. How would I know that assassins have such a shameless skill? Wang Yu said confidently. Wuji was speechless. He forgot that this was his first time playing the game. Not many people would learn how to use Time Bomb. It was normal that Wang Yu didn't know about it. Did he drop anything? Wuji sighed and asked Wang Yu. Wang Yu glanced at her bag and said, that skill book's torn page dropped. After Wang Yu had picked up the items that Doke had dropped, she had directly thrown them into her bag. She hadn't put them into the spatial ring, so it had dropped. Damn it, this group of scum. Wuji fiercely clenched his teeth and said, blood-colored war flag. To think I treated you as a friend. Blood-red war flag? That assassin was one of them. Wang Yu froze and said in disbelief. Blood Alliance and Xuanjin might have been at odds in the beginning, but they were still comrades that had fought side by side. They were all old friends. Thinking back to when Xuanjin was in trouble, Blood-Red War Flag didn't hesitate to bring people to help. Wang Yu couldn't understand why Blood-Red War Flag would do that. Yes, I heard it clearly from the side. The person that tried to kill you is called Bloodwolf. Wuji said, Bloodwolf, Blood Alliance's Team Blood Red's #1 assassin. In the pro scene, he was second to none. Wuji had been in the game for so many years, so he had some understanding of the pro scene's experts. Naturally, he had heard of Bloodwolf. What if it's someone else with the same name? Wang Yu said, Rebirth had hundreds of millions of players in a single server. The chances of an ID being stolen was quite high, especially for a pro god. He had many fans, so it wasn't strange at all for him to have such a name. No, the game company would specially give out the IDs of pro players like them. Moreover, Bloodwolf wasn't the only one who appeared. There was also Archer King Bloodrain, and 2 others. Wuji frowned. If Bloodwolf's name wasn't enough, the game company wouldn't have specially given out an ID. Bloodrain should be enough. It had to be known that people who could be crowned kings and gods in the game all had big backgrounds. Archer King Bloodrain was a publicly recognized archer in the game. He was second only to the captain of Fu Zi's team. Archer god Fu Zi was very annoyed. Of course, this was just the difference in titles. Bloodrain and Fu Zi were very annoyed. As experts of the same level, if they really fought, there would be wins and losses. Moreover, for people from Team Blood Red suddenly appeared. If only Bloodwolf had the same name, it wouldn't be that all 4 of them had the same name. That would be too much of a coincidence. But I don't believe that this was done by Blood Red War Flag. Wang Yu was conflicted. He asked me to help him farm points, and now he's looking for people to kill me. I really don't understand why. Wuji said, I don't understand either, so I have to ask Blood Red War Flag about this. Then let's go back. We'll meet up in the city and ask Blood Red War Flag about this. Wang Yu said, and was about to walk into the city. Wuji reached out to stop Wang Yu and said, use a city return scroll. They have an ambush. What are you afraid of? Just kill them. Wang Yu said. Wu Ji said, the situation isn't clear yet. We'll alert them. After Wu Ji explained the situation to the others in Xuanzhen, he told them not to leave the city. Then he took out a city return scroll and threw it to Wang Yu. The two of them teleported back to Yu Huicheng. After returning to Yu Huicheng, Wu Ji had Wang Yu send a message to Blood Red War Flag. War Flag, where is it? Wang Yu asked. Dungeon? What's wrong? Is there something wrong? After a while, Blood Red War Flag replied. Wang Yu replied, there's something wrong. Can you come to the tavern right now? If it's urgent, I'll leave the dungeon right now. Blood Red War Flag heard that Wang Yu had something to do and quickly replied. He said that if it's urgent, he'll leave the dungeon right now. Wang Yu said to Wu Ji, it seems like Blood Red War Flag really doesn't know about this. Wu Ji said as he rubbed his chin. Wang Yu didn't understand. Huh? How did you know? Wu Ji said, if he knew about the ambush, he wouldn't be in the mood to do the dungeon right now. Then what should I do? Wang Yu nodded. Wu Ji said, even if he doesn't know about this, it has something to do with him. Tell him to come over first. Okay. Wang Yu sent a message to Blood Red War Flag. Not long after, Blood Red War Flag arrived at the tavern. Looking at the weakness status above his head, he really did leave the dungeon. Boss Wu Ji, you're here too. Why are you looking for me? Blood Red War Flag sat down and asked directly. Wu Ji looked at Blood Red War Flag, then said with Blood Red War Flag on his head, we just went to do a team quest and were ambushed. Huh? Blood Red War Flag was shocked and hurriedly asked, who was so reckless as to ambush you? Is everyone okay? Almost all of us were wiped out. Wu Ji said, how is this possible? There's someone who could wipe you out? Blood Red War Flag was stunned. It didn't seem like he was faking it. If this really had something to do with him, with his current acting skills, he would have a better future as an actor than as a professional player. Chapter 679. Pro Circle. Blood Red War Flag said in disbelief. No way. Who in the Pro Circle would be so bored? Blood Wolf. Wu Ji stared at Blood Red War Flag and said calmly. Blood Red War Flag was startled. So it's him. I didn't think he would be so bored. Seeing Blood Red War Flag's calm reaction, Wu Ji said, what? Blood Wolf is a member of Team Blood Red. Boss War Flag. Shouldn't you give us an explanation? Blood Red War Flag said with a sad expression. He isn't anymore. Oh, what happened? Wu Ji wasn't surprised by Blood Red War Flag's answer. Instead, he was interested. Sigh. Blood Red War Flag sighed and said, to tell you the truth, our Blood Red team is no longer worthy of its name. Just a month ago, our contracted players all transferred to other guilds. Transfers happen from time to time in the competitive scene. No one was willing to fall behind. Some are worried about their salary. Some are focused on winning the championship. In short, there are all sorts of reasons for pro players to change guilds. Although Blood Alliance was a veteran large guild, their salary and results in recent years were still lacking compared to some of the top guilds in the industry. So, transferring wasn't rare at all. Especially for an expert like Bloodrain, there were definitely many teams trying to poach him. This was a common occurrence in the industry. Of course, it was rare for Blood Alliance to transfer several players in one promotion. Something big must have happened internally, otherwise, it wouldn't be like this. The current team Blood Red must have taken a lot of damage. With their experience, they wouldn't have fallen to the point where they had to find people to farm points for them in the preseason. Wu Ji and Wang Yu were only interested in Blood Wolf and the others. They couldn't be bothered to ask about Blood Alliance. After hearing Blood Red War Flag say that Blood Wolf had transferred, Wang Yu asked, which guild did they transfer to? Sword to the Heavens. Blood Red War Flag said, Sword to the Heavens? Wang Yu heard this name and couldn't help but repeat it. Wu Ji looked at Wang Yu in shock and asked, what's wrong? You know about it? Wang Yu shook his head. I don't know. I just feel that the name is quite arrogant. What kind of guild is this? I don't know. Wu Ji shook his head. Wu Ji had been in the game for so many years, but he had never heard of such a guild. However, what Wu Ji was certain of was that this guild shouldn't be a veteran guild. After all, a veteran guild's name was a gold-lettered signboard. It was a guarantee to attract talents. Only a stray dog like watching fish underwater would set up another guild. However, this guild first stole Blood Alliance's members and then ambushed Chuanjin's group. It was obvious that they weren't the type to stay put. "Boss, do you know what they do?" Wuji asked Blood Red War Flag. Blood Red War Flag shook its head and mumbled, "I've seen their guild leader. Their ID is also a newbie, but one thing is for sure. They don't lack money. To be able to steal 4 experts from an old guild like Blood Alliance at once, Finger Heavens wasn't just lacking money. He was basically a troublemaker with too much money. If they don't lack money, then why would they steal from us?" Wang Yu asked curiously. Although Chuanjin liked to do bad things, they had no grudges against Finger Heavens. There was no reason for Finger Heavens to provoke a group of people who had nothing to lose. "Oomph." Wuji coldly snorted. "They don't lack money, but they lack fame and talent." From the fact that Finger Heavens didn't lack money and that they were stealing from Team Blood, it wasn't hard to see that they wanted to create a strong team. However, to create a strong team, money alone wasn't enough. After all, many top-tier experts didn't lack money. Compared to money, they desired results more. A small, unknown guild definitely wouldn't be able to attract a large number of talents. They could only spend money to buy people like Bloodwolf, who weren't as good as the top and were better off saving some money for retirement, or people like Bloodrain, who had skills but weren't good enough. They might as well change to a different environment. Thus, to attract talents, they had to first make a name for themselves. They had to let those pro players feel that they had a chance of winning the championship. However, from the establishment of a guild to becoming famous, it required many years of operation. It wasn't easy for a new guild to become famous. Even if Finger Heavens didn't lack money, they could only rely on unorthodox methods. Blood Alliance was undoubtedly a big guild. Although Finger Heavens had stolen their members, their foundation was still there. They had tens of thousands of players, and they weren't easy to deal with. If they really fought, no matter how many experts Finger Heavens had, it was hard to say whether they would become famous or be removed from a guild. Chuanjin was different. The entire guild only had a dozen or so people, and their fame wasn't just average. Not only in Yuhuicheng, but also on the forums, Chuanjin's exposure was very high. A guild with a dozen or so people. How strong could they be? Even if they were all elites, could they compare to Finger Heavens who had so many pro players? It was precisely because of this that Sword Points to the Heavens used the Quanjin sect as a stepping stone. "I see. But even if they kill us, no one else will know." Wang Yu said. Wuji laughed. "If nothing goes wrong, they'll be showing off to the world soon. Isn't that a little too weird?" Wang Yu was speechless. Killing people in the game was understandable, but showing off after killing people was a little childish in Wang Yu's eyes. As expected, less than half a minute after the two finished talking, the world announcement rang out. "Big Bear, wait for me. Chuanjin people, listen up. From today onwards, I will beat you up every time I see you in Yuhuicheng. I will use this as proof. This guy called Big Bear Wait for Me really didn't lack money. He used the 10 gold coin megaphone a few times, and the beautiful megaphone effect blocked the vision of all the players. It really is them. This guy called Big Bear Wait for Me is the vice guild leader of Fingersword in the Sky. Their guild leader's name is Captain Don't Shoot, Blood Red War Flag, said to Wuji after seeing the announcement. Wuji and Wang Yu heard this and were stunned. What kind of stupid name was that? At this time, the players in Yuhuicheng saw the announcement and were in an uproar. D*MN, who is this Big Bear Wait for Me? How can he be so arrogant? He dares to challenge Chuanjin. Did you forget what happened to Blood Alliance? I know Big Bear. I think he's the vice leader of Finger Heavens. This guild is just a small guild. Why are they fighting with Chuanjin? I heard that their leader is very rich. He recently formed a team and signed many pro players. Someone in the know said. Chapter 680. Pro players were a group that stood above all other players. To ordinary players, pro players were gods. No matter how big of a ruckus a player made, if a pro player came to their aid, it would be considered bullying the weak. Not only would they be despised by other players, but they would also be ridiculed by their peers. Otherwise, with Bloody Team's position in the gaming circle, Bloody Alliance wouldn't be suppressed by Chuanjin. Yu Huiqing's players still felt that it was natural. Moreover, these people's time was extremely precious. More than half of their time was spent on competitive practice. Due to the non-tradable character of Rebirth, professional players had to devote themselves to leveling up crazily. They didn't have the time to bother with ordinary players. I heard it from a friend of Fingersword. I can't guarantee that it's true. After being doubted, the person said again. Just when everyone was doubting, another announcement was made. It was none other than Bloodwolf. Bloodwolf. It's just Chuanjin. They can't even withstand a single blow. If you want your things back, come out and fight with us. Head of Beast King D. June. Broken Dragon / Page. Not only did Bloodwolf provoke them, but he also sent out the loot. Damn, it's Bloodwolf. They robbed Chuanjin's things. After seeing Bloodwolf's announcement, everyone was excited again. At first, everyone was still doubtful of Big Bear's words. They thought that Fingersword was just bragging about destroying Chuanjin. Now, everyone began to believe Big Bear's words. This was because today's headline news in Yuhuicheng was that Chuanjin had accepted an S-level mission to kill Beast King Dijuan in the depths of Sunset Forest. At this time, Bloodwolf sent out the mission item for Chuanjin. This behavior was very clear. The current Chuanjin people were robbed by Bloodwolf. If it was someone else, perhaps everyone would be suspicious. However, Bloodwolf was a famous professional player. He was the #1 assassin of Bloody Team. Even he was involved. It wasn't impossible for Chuanjin to be destroyed. Damn, so shameless. Professional players are bullying ordinary players. Isn't Bloodwolf from Bloody Team? Why is he with Big Bear? It should be a transfer. Wasn't a transfer season a while ago? But Chuanjin is finished this time. They actually provoked a professional player. After the appearance of Bloodwolf, the Yu Huichang players who were originally sympathizing with Fingersky turned into a moment of silence for Chuanjin. After all, no matter how powerful Chuanjin was, he was still an ordinary player. He was not on the same level as a professional master like Bloodwolf. Of course, most people were gloating because the guys from Chuanjin were not good people. Even if they were not hated by the heavens, they were still local tyrants. The reason why everyone blamed Bloodwolf was that this kid ignored the rules and bullied the weak. On Chuanjin's side, the guild channel was in an uproar. Li Shui and the others said worriedly, Aya, how did you guys offend a god of the pro scene? This is a big problem. Should we call for help? Wuji replied, No, you guys just need to find a safe place to hide first. Their target is us, so they probably won't do anything to you guys. What about me? Mu Zixian also asked. Although Mu Zixian did not have much interaction with the other people from Chuanjin, many people in Yuhuicheng knew that Mu Zixian's shop was related to Chuanjin. Wang Yu said, Close the door first. You don't have to get involved in the fighting and killing. What about us? Mingdu asked. Wuji said, We have to think of a way to gather together. Otherwise, the enemy is in the dark while we are out in the open. If we act alone, we will be at a disadvantage. I'll go find you guys now, Mingdu said as he left the resurrection point. When Wuji and Wang Yu returned, they told everyone to find a safe place and not to run around. Everyone else went to find a safe place, but Mingdu thought that the resurrection point was the safest place, so he didn't leave the resurrection point. However, just as Mingdu stepped out of the resurrection point, an arrow suddenly tore through the air. In the direction where the arrow came from, a tall and skinny archer in red clothes stood on a roof in the distance. He was aiming his bow at Mingdu, who was at the entrance of the resurrection point. This person was blood red. Seeing the arrow fly over, Mingdu hurriedly lowered his head, and the arrow brushed past Mingdu's head. At the same time Mingdu lowered his head, he finished casting lightning and threw it out. However, archers were the class that countered mages the most. Blood Red's attack range was higher than Mingdu's, so although Mingdu threw lightning, it hit the ground not far from Blood Red. Blood Red's techniques were taught by Blood Rain. As a professional, Blood Rain's archer skills were superb. Just as Mingdu dodged an arrow, another arrow flew in front of Mingdu. Mingdu hurriedly flashed forward 5 meters and as he landed, he stretched out his left hand and shot a thunder spear at Blood Red. Just as the thunder spear was about to hit Blood Red, Mingdu suddenly felt a chill in his back. Bloodthorn appeared behind Mingdu, and a backstab turned Mingdu into a white light. Mingdu's thunder spear also dissipated. I was killed again. They have an ambush at the resurrection point, Mingdu exclaimed. Wuji couldn't help but be startled. These guys didn't ambush outside the city, but went to the resurrection point. Just then, Exquisite Dream sent a message in the channel. I was killed too. The location was at the grocery store. The grocery store was where archers restocked their arrows. Exquisite Dream and Yang Na were hiding there. Where's Snow? Wuji asked. I jumped onto the roof and ran away, Yang Na replied. With Yang Na's techniques, unless she was ambushed by an assassin, most people couldn't kill her. Where's Brother Chun? The medicine store. Damn, there seems to be someone outside. I didn't go out, Chun Xiang replied. The store was a safe zone. As long as he didn't go out, he would be fine. Where's Chick? The resurrection point. He was killed at the restaurant just now. To place one's pride said dejectedly. This brat really knew how to find a place. I told him to find a safe place to hide, but he actually went to eat. There were even fights in restaurants, not to mention at this time. Serves him right. Meat and old fish are at the auction house. It's safe for now, famous sword Dao Xue replied before Wuji could ask. Third Bao also replied. Me and second bro are at the arena. There's no one here. Damn, it seems like there are quite a few players from Finger the Heavens. Wuji frowned after hearing what everyone said. Finger the Heavens could only defeat Xuanzhen's group of professional players. Everyone being captured must have exposed their identities. Therefore, the players from Finger the Heavens must be wandering around looking for Xuanzhen's group. The shops, restaurants, and resurrection points were all places where people gathered. It was reasonable for Ming Du and to place one's pride's group to be targeted. The arena and the auction house required money to enter. Most players wouldn't go there if they didn't have money. Bao San and famous sword Dao Xue were lucky to not be targeted. There's killing intent. Chapter 681. The flying speed of the arrow was extremely fast, and the angle was tricky. Although it was shot from the front, the trajectory of the arrow weaved through the crowd, under the cover of the other players. If Wang Yu had not sensed the killing intent, normal people would not have noticed it at all. Shooting this arrow in between the players could have killed the wrong target at any time. However, the arrow was able to fly through the crowd and arrive in front of Wuji. It could be seen that the opponent's control over the arrow's flight speed was superb. His accuracy was also extraordinarily high. The person who shot the arrow was also extremely confident in his own strength. Otherwise, if the arrow had missed, it wouldn't have been effective as a sneak attack. Wuji heard Wang Yu's warning. By the time he reacted, the arrow was already in front of him. It was too late for him to dodge. The instant the arrow was about to pierce Wuji's head, a pair of large hands blocked Wuji's vision and grabbed the arrow. Wang Yu was the only one who could catch the arrow in such a situation. Old cow! Wuji, who had just escaped with his life, looked at Wang Yu in a panic and cried out. This archery, it's blood red. Blood Red War Flag couldn't help but shout when he saw this miraculous arrow. It seemed that sword points to the heavens had eyes everywhere. The tavern wasn't far from the revival point. After killing Ming Du, Blood Red immediately came over. Wang Yu ignored the two. He grabbed Wuji's collar and threw Wuji behind Blood Red War Flag. He then picked up a stool and rushed out the door. How is this possible? Blood Red, who was outside the door, was shocked when she saw Wang Yu grabbing the arrow. As one of the top experts in the pro circle and the personal disciple of Blood Rain, Blood Red was very confident in his archery skills. Blood Red's arrow was very skillful. Moreover, it was a sneak attack. Let alone a normal player. Even a pro expert would die without a sound if they didn't know what was going on. Unexpectedly, not only did Wang Yu discover the arrow, but he was also able to catch it. This was clearly out of Blood Red's expectation. However, Blood Red was an expert after all. She was only shocked for a moment. When she saw Wang Yu charging over, she picked up an arrow and knocked it again. She shot an arrow at Wang Yu. Seeing this, Wang Yu smiled faintly. With a wave of his hand, he threw the stool in his hand, which collided with the blood-red arrow. The stools in the tavern would break if players sat on them, not to mention that they had been hit by an arrow from a professional expert like Blood-Red. Bang! With a muffled sound, the bench was smashed into smithereens. As expected, it would shatter with just a touch. Wang Yu grabbed the arrow in midair with the hand that he used to throw the bench. He flew in front of Blood-Red and stabbed the arrow into Blood-Red's head. 22-22. It was an arrow after all, so the damage wasn't high. Wang Yu didn't want to kill anyone, so he only took half of Blood-Red's HP. After being hit by Wang Yu, Blood-Red instinctively dodged backward. As soon as Blood-Red dodged, the tavern owner jumped out from behind the counter at a speed faster than Wang Yu. He grabbed Blood-Red's shirt tightly and said, "You damaged personal items, pay up. F***CK. Blood-Red was shocked when she was grabbed by the tavern owner. Archers were a standard kiting class. It would be terrible if a grandmaster of combat, who specialized in close-range attacks, got close to them. In the blink of an eye, Blood-Red was struggling to retreat. By then, Wang Yu had already arrived in front of Blood-Red. Pada! After the sound of a trap being triggered, the panic on Blood-Red's face turned into a smile. "Hee, you're still too young to fight me," Blood-Red said with a smile as he looked at Wang Yu, who was frozen on the ground. At the same time, he took out a gold coin and handed it to the tavern owner to release him. "Is that so?" Wang Yu looked calm and asked calmly, "Why did you attack my friend?" It's just a game. If you attack, then attack. It's all up to you. Why do you care so much?" Blood-Red replied with a cold smile. The effect of the trap lasted for a long time. Blood-Red wasn't in a hurry to kill Wang Yu. Instead, he admired Wang Yu's helpless look. Wang Yu said, "To become famous for Finger Heaven, why ask if you already know?" Blood-Red's answer was non-committal. "There are many ways for a guild to become famous. Why do you have to seek death? I'm not someone who likes to fight. Return the item, and I can consider letting you go," Wang Yu said. Uff. Blood-Red laughed when he heard Wang Yu's words. "A dead duck is still so stubborn. I just can't stand your Chuanjin's behavior. As long as you're still in Yuhui-Chung, we, Finger Heaven, will kill you every time we see Chuanjin's people." Wang Yu smiled and hooked his finger at Blood-Red. "Sure, try to kill me first. Do you think I don't dare?" Wang Yu's disdainful behavior caused Blood-Red to explode. He thought about how he was known as the second Archer King in the professional circle. Who wouldn't respectfully greet him as a god? Today, he was actually looked down upon by a normal player twice. How could he tolerate this? Shui Hong shouted angrily and shot an arrow at Wang Yu. "Pa!" Unhurriedly, Wang Yu casually waved his hand, and the blood-red arrow fell to the ground. Seeing this scene, Blood-Red's jaw dropped to the ground. The distance between Wang Yu and Blood-Red was only one step away. In addition, Blood-Red took half a step back when she pulled the bow, so the distance between the two of them was less than a meter. Shooting a fixed target at this distance was equivalent to shooting at the enemy's head. Logically speaking, this arrow should have been foolproof, so how could it have been blocked? Bows and arrows in the game were different from reality. In reality, the power of a bow and arrow at a distance of 1 meter was not high. In the game, the closer the distance, the higher the damage and the lower the probability of being blocked. However, with such high damage and such a close distance, he was still able to knock down the arrow. This showed how high Wang Yu's reaction speed and damage were. They were simply unfathomable. After Wang Yu knocked down the arrow, his hands were not idle. He switched his glove to a long staff and tapped it on Blood-Red's chest. Blood-Red was shocked and turned into a light. After killing Blood-Red, Wang Yu swung the long staff in his hand and swept it behind him. Bam! A sneaky figure that was about to attack Wang Yu was knocked out. Then, Wang Yu blocked the door with his staff. Seeing that the sneak attack failed and the door was blocked, the assassin turned around and ran. Wang Yu turned his head and shouted at Wuji, "I can't move, so I'll leave it to you guys." Hiss! The spectators in the tavern gasped when they heard Wang Yu's words. It turned out that this man was really fixed, No one knew how an assassin's maneuvering was like, but everyone had seen Blood Red's archery with their own eyes. He was definitely a professional player. Wang Yu was able to kill an expert like Blood Red, even when he was immobilized. This Mother Asterisk Cur was even more brutal than the rumors said. Chapter 682. Hey, War Flag, it's you. Bloodthorn looked up at Blood Red War Flag and laughed awkwardly. Didn't you say you were going to retire? What, you bastard? Blood Red War Flag stuttered after seeing Bloodthorn. Blood Red War Flag wasn't surprised that Blood Wolf had been poached away. Blood Wolf was a new expert and didn't have deep feelings for Blood Alliance. Blood Red War Flag wasn't surprised that Blood Rain had been poached away. Blood Rain was someone who had hopes of becoming the champion. He couldn't let his guild ruin his future. As for Blood Red, he was Blood Rain's disciple, so it was reasonable for him to follow his teacher. However, encountering Bloodthorn here was something Blood Red War Flag didn't expect. Bloodthorn was a veteran player in Blood Alliance. He was someone who had fought with Blood Red War Flag for a long time. His skill wasn't too high in the circle, but it wasn't too low either. However, he was very old in Blood Alliance and had quite a bit of authority. Originally, Bloodthorn had said that he was going to retire. Blood Red War Flag didn't expect him to join sword pointing the heavens. Yeah, I'll just join a guild for fun after I retire. There's nothing wrong with that. Bloodthorn laughed and was about to go into stealth. You want to run? Wuji saw that Bloodthorn was about to go into stealth and smacked but with his staff, interrupting Bloodthorn's skill. Bloodthorn glared at Wuji before activating swift movement and pouncing at him. Wuji picked up a wine glass from the table and threw it at Bloodthorn. Bloodthorn waved his dagger and smashed the glass to pieces. He coldly laughed, small, deliberately destroying private property. Pay up. Before Bloody Thorn could finish, then Owner came up and grabbed Bloody Thorn with all his might. Wuji was a holy priest that specialized in healing. He didn't have many damage skills, most of which were Dispel and single-target crowd control skills. Seeing that Bloodthorn had been caught, Wuji threw a sacred flame at Bloodthorn, silencing him. He then swung his staff at Bloodthorn's head. Priests were magic classes, so their physical attack power was pitifully low. After just a few hits, Bloodthorn had already broken free. Wuji threw a God's Retribution at Bloodthorn. Divine Punishment deals holy damage to the target. The attack power isn't high, but the effect is extremely disgusting. It can cause the target to fall asleep for 5 seconds. After Bloodthorn was put to sleep, Wuji once again raised his staff and smacked it. Bloodthorn had just woken up from its slumber, and as soon as it woke up, Wuji threw a wine cup at it. This time, Bloodthorn was smarter. He didn't block it with his dagger and let the glass hit him. He thought that he wouldn't be caught this time, but the tavern owner appeared again and grabbed Bloodthorn. Deliberate. F***, why should I? Bloodthorn was devastated. He had been training with the team every day and had never been to a tavern before. He had no idea why the owner of the tavern had caught him. Are you stupid? Whoever broke it should pay, Wuji said as he smacked Bloodthorn's head with his staff. Bloodthorn was a famous expert. His heart was already filled with rage after being smacked in the head again and again. F***, you bastard. I'll kill you today. Bloodthorn roared as he pulled out his money to escape. Holy priests didn't have much damage and were cloth-armored. They weren't a PvP class. On the other hand, assassins were the exact opposite. They had almost no natural enemies. If they were to fight in a real fight, Wuji definitely wouldn't be Bloodthorn's opponent. However, Wuji was sinister. He was willing to go to any lengths. Bloodthorn's head was already swollen, but he still hadn't moved. The feeling of his opponent clearly not being a match for him, but still using all sorts of despicable and shameless tricks was the most frustrating feeling. One could only imagine how Bloodthorn was feeling right now. After paying the fine, Bloodthorn charged at Wuji without another word. Seeing this, Wuji raised his staff and lightly landed near Wang Yu. Bloodthorn couldn't help but curse. Bastard, do you dare come over? Idiot, come over here. Wuji didn't want to be outdone. F***. Bloodthorn knew how strong Wang Yu was, so he didn't dare approach. He copied Wuji and grabbed a wine glass from a nearby table and threw at Wuji. Wuji laughed and dodged to the side. The wine glass fell to the ground and shattered. The tavern owner caught Bloodthorn for the third time. Just you wait. I'll make sure you die a horrible death, you shameless piece of trash." Bloodthorn, who had been caught again and again, was completely enraged. He didn't care about his image and started cursing. Wuji pointed behind Bloodthorn and said, "Look behind you. You don't have a chance." Bloodthorn hurriedly turned around and saw Blood-Red War Flag glaring at him. "War Flag, what are you doing? This has nothing to do with you. Don't drag Blood Alliance into this." Bloodthorn was scared by Blood-Red War Flag and said in a panic. Bloodthorn was quite scheming. It knew that Blood-Red War Flag was the guild leader, so it had to look at the big picture. Since Blood-Red War Flag had the heart to rise, it definitely had the strength to do so. So, Bloodthorn tried to warn Blood-Red War Flag not to act rashly. Blood-Red War Flag laughed coldly. "This has nothing to do with Blood Alliance. Boss Wuji and Xuanjin are my friends. I can't just watch my friends get bullied." "F***CK, I'm your friend too," Bloodthorn said. "You're not," Blood-Red War Flag said coldly. He took out a suppression talisman and slapped it on Bloodthorn's head. Then he used Charge, Pick Up, and Chain Stab. The set of skills turned Bloodthorn into a white light. Sorry for troubling you, War Flag Boss." Wuji saw that Bloodthorn was destroyed and said with a smile, "It's nothing." Blood-Red War Flag waved his hands and said, "I think you guys should go offline and hide. Sword-Pointing Heaven isn't easy to deal with." Sword-Pointing Heaven was able to develop in just a few months and steal away 4 experts for Blood Alliance, including experts like Bloodrain. One could see that their financial strength wasn't ordinary. Blood Alliance was an old guild. Whether it was the guild or the funds, they were all for the team. So, when faced with Xuanjin, they chose to rope them in and admit defeat. This was because they had such a foundation. A single loss wouldn't affect the guild's development. Plus, Blood Alliance would proclaim how strong Xuanjin was. Not only would they not lose face, but they would also make people think that Blood Alliance was fighting to the death with such a guild. Even if they lost, it was understandable. At the very least, the Blood Alliance could still rope in experts like the Quanjin sect as allies. How could a guild leader be easy to deal with? They were all very smart. However, Sword-Pointing Heaven was focused on making a name for himself. He had even brought out pro-level experts, so they definitely wouldn't care about wasting resources. They would definitely fight to the death with Xuanjin. After all, the Quanjin sect was a small guild with only a dozen or so people. If the big guilds really wanted to destroy them, it would only take a few minutes. Moreover, Sword Points to the Heavens also had an expert like Bloodrain. The elites of the Quanjin sect didn't have any advantage in terms of individual strength. Even if they had Wang Yu, could he single-handedly challenge the entire big guild? Chapter 683. It's not that simple. After hearing Blood-Red War Flag's words, Wuji said calmly, "Finger Heaven's people stole our quest item first. They should be the ones hiding." What kind of people were Xuanjin? When they had nothing better to do, they still wanted to go out and harm people. Moreover, not only had they been ambushed by Finger Heaven, but their quest item had also been stolen. In Wang Yu's words, there were many ways to become famous. Why bother? Blood-Red War Flag said, "Finger Heaven isn't like a normal studio. I can't help much on my side." Studios didn't have much say in front of big guilds. That was why when Xuanjin and Xiaobing's studio had a conflict, Blood-Red War Flag helped them without hesitation. However, Finger Heaven was different. It was a big guild. Even though Big Bear Wait For Me had poached Blood Alliance's experts, they had done it the proper way. Blood Alliance could only blame themselves for not being able to keep their experts. They could only suffer losses in secret. They couldn't start a conflict on the surface. As such, even if the Quanjin sect and Blood Alliance were friends, Blood-Red War Flag could only help the Quanjin sect in their own name. As for asking guild players to help, Blood-Red War Flag was powerless. Wuji waved his hand and said, "It's okay, we can do it ourselves." Blood Rain isn't easy to deal with. Don't underestimate them. Blood Red War Flag continued to persuade him. Xuanzhen's people were very strong, but the enemy was a professional-level expert. Whether it was skill or equipment, they weren't any weaker than Xuanzhen's people. Do you know about one night listening to the spring rain? Wuji asked Blood Red War Flag with a smile. Blood Red War Flag was stunned. You mean the guild leader of Three Spirits Village? That's right. Wuji smiled. I killed him twice. As he said this, Wuji pointed at Wang Yu and said, the first time his guild was still the top in the country. We didn't have Old Cow. This, Blood Red War Flag, was speechless. Blood Red War Flag had more or less heard about Xuanzhen and the Three Fiends Villa. However, it did not dare to believe that 6 players could destroy an entire guild. It never occurred to them that the rumors were true. After the initial shock, Blood Red War Flag knew that Wuji was determined to fight against Fingersword in the Sky. So it said, if that's the case, if Boss Wuji needs help, I'll definitely be there. Thank you, Battle Flag Boss. Wuji smiled and nodded. At the same time, all the core members of the Finger to the Heavens had gathered in the office of the Finger to the Heavens. A very handsome knight laughed mockingly at Blood Rain. Aya, the Archer King's disciple, is only SOSO. He was actually killed by a few normal players. No wonder your achievements in the Bloody Battle Squad were so mediocre. Blood Rain's face darkened. He stared at Blood Red and Bloodthorn and asked unhappily, what's wrong with you two? How did you get killed? Bloodthorn's strength was mediocre. Blood Rain was well aware of this. However, Blood Rain had personally taught Blood Red. His strength could be considered first-rate in the pro circle. The two of them had only ambushed 2 non-pro players. It was a bit shameful for them to be killed. Blood Red seemed to be afraid of Blood Rain. When he heard Blood Rain's question, his expression became even worse. He stuttered and said, they weren't normal players. That cleric was very despicable. Moreover, the Grandmaster combat in their team was very strange. As he spoke, Blood Red recalled the scene of Wang Yu casually swatting away his arrow from a meter away. His heart couldn't help but tremble. Grandmaster of Combat? Didn't they say that their skill was average and that they couldn't even beat Blood Wolf? Blood Rain asked doubtfully when he heard Blood Red's words. Blood Wolf and Blood Rain were old colleagues. Blood Rain knew the two of them very well. Blood Red's strength was not inferior to Blood Wolf's. If Blood Wolf could kill an opponent, there was no reason that Blood Red couldn't. Ha ha! Before Blood Red could speak, the handsome knight laughed again. I say, Blood Rain, your disciple is clearly finding excuses for himself. Can't you see that he was defeated by a normal player? Of course, he has to brag about how strong he is. Sigh, you two teacher and disciple are getting worse with each generation. Shut up, Fist of Heaven. Hearing the knight laugh at him again, Blood Rain turned his head and glared at him. I say, my disciple, what are you interrupting for? You want to get beaten up again, right? What? Why don't we go offline and spar? The knight provoked, unwilling to be outdone. Humph, do you want to be banned again? Blood Rain rolled his eyes at the knight. This knight was called Fist of Heaven. He was also a famous expert in the pro circle. This kid had a grudge with Blood Rain. The two of them had fought over a girl. It wasn't in the game, but in real life. At that time, it was a professional league, and the two of them started fighting in the arena. Since Fist of the Heavens started the fight, he was banned for 2 years. The owner of Finger of the Heavens was indeed not lacking in money. They had collected all the experts they could find. Fist of Heaven sneered. If you're scared, just say it. Look at how your disciple was scared out of his wits by a normal player. I know you're trash. All right, you two, stop arguing. Didn't we agree to let bygones be bygones? Don't make things difficult for me. Just as Blood Rain was about to retort, a big Baldy stood up and held Blood Rain back. He then waved his hand at Fist of Heaven. Fist of Heaven saw Baldy stand up and curled his lips at Blood Rain. He then sat back down and Blood Rain tactfully shut his mouth. Baldy was none other than the guild leader of Finger of Heaven. Captain, don't shoot. One had to know that when Blood Rain and Fist of Heaven fought, even the referee couldn't stop them. However, Captain, don't shoot was able to stop them. From this, it could be seen that money had the most power. After Captain Don't Shoot stabilized the two of them, he said to Fist of Heaven, "Heaven, you're not a local, so you don't know. This Iron Ox has a bad reputation. He once chased after an entire guild. I saw it with my own eyes." Fist of Heaven was stunned. He asked in shock, "Which guild is so trash?" In the game, even the best experts were afraid of being surrounded. Fist of Heaven didn't think that Wang Yu was that strong. He only thought that the guild that was beaten by Wang Yu was weak. Captain Don't Shoot said solemnly, "Blood Alliance." Blood Rain and the others lowered their heads. As expected, a bunch of trash. Fist of Heaven laughed. Ugh. Captain Don't Shoot rubbed his bald head and said in shock, "Did I say something wrong?" In all honesty, Captain Don't Shoot said that the guild that was beaten was Blood Alliance. It was to tell Fist of Heaven not to look down on Wang Yu. He definitely didn't mean to bully Blood Rain and the others. Chapter 684. This. Seeing Fist of Heaven's behavior, Don't Shoot looked awkwardly at Blood Rain. Blood Rain shook his head helplessly. It couldn't be helped. The Blood Alliance had indeed been oppressed by the Quanjun sect before, but as long as one thought about it carefully, they would be able to figure out the reason. It was because the Blood Alliance didn't want to provoke such a group of fugitives. Otherwise, the captain wouldn't have pointed his gun at the Quanjun sect. It was just that everyone was more willing to believe what they wanted to believe. Hee hee. Blood Red laughed coldly. "Since Boss Heaven is so strong, I suggest you go deal with Iron Ox. We'll deal with the others." Although Blood Red and the others were no longer in the Blood Alliance, with Blood Red's temper, they couldn't tolerate being mocked like this. Moreover, Fist of Heaven was Blood Rain's old enemy. Fist of Heaven said with disdain, "Humph, I'll go. He's just a grandmaster of combat. Have someone keep an eye on him. Don't fight with me later." "Don't worry, no one will fight with you." Blood Red laughed coldly. Seeing that Fist of Heaven and Blood Red were no longer arguing, Don't Shoot said, all right. Stop talking nonsense. They're all hiding in the safe zone. What should we do?" At this time, a burly guy who was about the same size as Wang Yu said, "If they don't come out, then so be it. We'll just waste time with them." This big guy was Big Bear Waitfer, Don't Shoot's best friend. He was the one who came up with the idea of stepping on Xuanjin. "Waste time? Do you think it's good for us to waste time like this?" Blood Rain and the others are going to play professionally, the captain asked Big Bear. "Team Leader, from now on, they will be known as Team Leader and Big Bear. Their names are too long, so it's hard to fight them." Blood Rain and the others were pro players. It wasn't worth it to waste time on them. If they continued to waste time, it was hard to say who would be the one to die. Big Bear laughed mischievously and said, "I didn't say we'd send our experts to stop them. Right now, they're definitely scared of us. We just need to send a few normal players from our guild to stop them, and they'll obediently stay in the safe zone." "What if they come out?" the captain asked again. "Don't worry, there's no safer place than the safe zone, unless they go offline." Big Bear said proudly, "If they really dare to come out, it won't be too late for us to go and kill them. What we should do now is to go to the forums to build momentum." Creating momentum? Yup. Just post on the forum that Xuanjin doesn't dare to go out because of us. The result will be the same whether they go out or not, Bear said with a laugh. He could not tell that Big Bear, this big guy, had such great wisdom. If it was really as he said, if Xuanjin dared to come out of the safe zone, he would be killed by the professional players of Finger the Heavens, and Finger the Heavens would become famous. If Xuanjin was really blocked for 3 to 5 days and did not dare to go out, the goal of pointing the sword to the heavens would be achieved, and it would not even cost a single soldier. That makes sense. When the captain heard Big Bear's words, he immediately slapped his thigh and cheered. Then he turned to Blood Rain and the others and asked, "What do you guys think?" "Yes, that's a good idea." Everyone gave him a thumbs up. They were all workers, so naturally, the boss had the final say. Since the captain said that it made sense, no idiot would oppose it. Of course, Big Bear's idea was indeed not bad. On Wang Yu and Wu Ji's side, Blood Red War Flag said a few polite words and then left. After all, Blood Red War Flag was the boss of Blood Alliance. If they got too close to Xuanjin, it would affect them a little. After Blood Red War Flag left, Wuji gave everyone an order in the channel. Third brother Bao and second brother, you two come with me to pick up brother Chun and the others. Dao Xue and Old Fish, you two return to the guild as soon as possible. Then, you and the girls move everything that can be brought from the guild to the grocery store. Move the warehouse. Why do we need to move the warehouse? In this situation, everyone could understand why everyone was gathered together, but moving storage units and whatnot left everyone confused. Wuji said, because we don't want the guild base anymore. Why? Hearing Wuji's words, everyone revealed puzzled expressions. Although they rarely returned to the guild encampment was like their home. They could choose not to return, but they couldn't live without it. Everyone's feelings for the encampment were extremely deep. Don't worry, we don't need it for now. When the time comes, Finger Heaven will double the amount for us. Let's move. After saying this, Wuji stood up and followed Wang Yu out the door, heading straight for the arena. At that time, the people in Finger Heaven's office received a message. Chuanjin's fighter and cleric have left the tavern and are heading towards the arena. After receiving the news, the experts in Finger Heaven's office were about to stand up, but Fist of the Heaven stood up first and said, "Don't interfere. I'll go." The captain said, "What about those two? Can you go by yourself? Why don't you let Misfortune go with you?" As he said this, the captain pointed at the warrior next to Fist of the Heaven, Misfortune. Fist of Heaven laughed and said, "There's no need for that. I'm not trash from the Blood Alliance. Just get someone to wait for them at the revival point." As he spoke, Fist of Heaven opened the door and walked out of the office. TSK, as expected of the boss of heaven. How domineering. The arena wasn't far from the tavern. Before long, Wang Yu and Wuji arrived at the entrance to the arena to receive Bao San and Yin Lao Air. The two of them didn't just sit around. They fought 2 matches in the blink of an eye. It seemed like they had won, just as the 4 of them were about to pick up Chun Xiang from the medicine shop. A knight suddenly appeared on the street. This knight was Fist of the Heaven. When Fist of the Heaven saw Wang Yu and the others, he couldn't help but say, Didn't you say there were only 2? How come it's 4? Who cares, for it is." As he said this, Fist of the Heaven raised his scepter and pointed at Wang Yu. "You 4 are from Chuanjin, right?" The 4 of them stopped in their tracks and asked in confusion, "Yeah, who are you?" To be honest, even with Wuji's intelligence, he couldn't figure out what the Fist of Heaven was here for. Even if Blood Rain and the others came to cause trouble for the Quanjin sect, they would still have to form a team to ambush them. For someone as intelligent as Wuji, blocking the path of 4 people from the Quanjin sect by himself was an idiot. Fist of the Heaven flipped his hair and said, "My name is Fist of the Heaven. I'm from the Sword of the Heavens. Have you heard of me?" Wuji was stunned. "Fist of the Heaven, I've heard a lot about you." When Fist of the Heaven saw that Wuji recognized him, he said proudly, "Looks like you're quite knowledgeable. I'm short on time, so you guys can come at me together." At this time, Wang Yu and Wuji whispered to each other, "Is this kid famous?" "Yeah, he used to fight over young models and get into fights in the arena." "He's a famous idiot," Wuji said. "Oh, what's a young model?" Wang Yu asked. Chapter 685. Originally, Fist of the Heaven thought that Wang Yu and the others would respond to him since they recognized him and knew that he was sword-pointing heaven. Who would have thought that not only would they not respond to him, but they would even whisper to each other? He couldn't help but feel like he was being ignored. Hey, I'm talking to you guys. Don't you know why I'm here? Hurry up and let me kill you." Fist of the Heaven shouted as he pointed at Wang Yu and the others. Wang Yu glanced at Fist of the Heaven, then turned to Wuji and the others. "You guys go first. I'll take care of him." "Okay." The 3 of them nodded. After saying this, Wang Yu walked toward Fist of the Heaven alone. When Fist of the Heaven saw that Wang Yu was the only one walking toward him, he smiled and said, "Oh, are you guys going to take turns fighting me? It's fine. You can fight however you want. I don't care." Before Fist of the Heaven could finish his sentence, Wuji and the others turned a corner and walked past them. Before leaving, Wuji waved at Wang Yu and said, "Hurry up. We'll be waiting for you up ahead. Got it. I'll be there soon, Wang Yu replied. Fist of the Heavens face paled when he heard Wang Yu's words. He was a famous expert. What did he mean by soon? Even if Fist of the Heaven was an idiot, he could still sense the contempt from Xuanzhen and the others. Damn it, you dare to look down on me? Fist of the Heaven roared. He raised his scepter and buffed himself, then lowered his head and charged at Wuji. Although Fist of the Heaven was a bit of a retard, his combat skills weren't to be underestimated. Not only did he activate charge the moment he buffed himself, but he also instinctively targeted Wuji, who was the weakest healer in the backline. It was clear that he was far stronger than the average player. However, before Fist of Heaven could run more than 2 meters, Wang Yu kicked Fist of Heaven's head from the side with an electric. Our paladins had the highest priority out of all the classes. Logically speaking, Wang Yu's Thunder Stomp couldn't compare to charge. However, the angle of Wang Yu's kick was exquisite. Even though it didn't cancel out Fist of the Heaven's charge, the knockback effect of Thunder Stomp forcibly changed the direction of Fist of the Heaven's charge. The Fist of the Heaven slammed into a nearby wall. F*CK. Heaven's Fist wasn't a weakling. When he saw that his charge had changed direction, he was shocked. He immediately canceled the skill to prevent himself from smashing his head against the wall. By the time Fist of the Heaven reacted, Wuji and the other two had already left. They didn't seem to care about Fist of the Heaven's attack at all. You're that Iron Ox? Heaven's Fist turned around and pointed at Wang Yu as he watched Wuji and the others walk further and further away. That's me. Wang Yu nodded. Why did you ambush me? Fist of the Heaven's face was filled with grief and indignation. It was as if he wasn't the one who had just said that he wanted to fight 4 people at once. Wang Yu waved his hand. You're mistaken. I'm your opponent, not him. You're courting death, Fist of the Heavens said, rubbing his scepter with his left hand. The scepter glowed with a pure white light. Divine blessing. It could bless a weapon, greatly increasing the weapon's hit rate for a short period of time. It also added holy damage. After the blessing was complete, Fist of the Heaven raised his hand, and a magic nullification rune flew towards Wang Yu. Runes were consumables exclusive to paladins. They were even more expensive than warlock poisons, and far more expensive than archer arrows. Punishment paladins mainly dealt physical damage. Runes were only there to support them. Unlike punishment paladins, which dealt powerful physical damage, guardian paladins were known for their defense. Runes were their main source of damage. A fully formed guardian paladin was several times more expensive than a punishment paladin. Therefore, other than grandmasters of combat, the rarest classes in the game were warlocks and guardian paladins. Not only were they expensive, but their damage output was also mediocre. The magic nullification rune was a basic skill of guardian paladins. It didn't deal much damage, but its effect was extremely shameless. It could lower the target's defense and nullify magic attacks. Even a magician with a magic shield up wouldn't be able to block this skill. It was Wang Yu's first time fighting a guardian paladin. He was surprised to see Fist of the Heaven throw out a rune. By the time Wang Yu was done, Fist of the Heaven's magic nullification rune was already in front of Wang Yu. It was Wang Yu's first time seeing this skill. He didn't know that the magic nullification rune could nullify magic. He raised his hand and sent a wave of chi at the magic nullification rune. With a soft sound, the wave of chi was swallowed by the magic nullification rune. It continued on toward Wang Yu without losing any momentum. Seeing this, Wang Yu was slightly taken aback. She suddenly bent over, supporting her body with her calves parallel to the ground. She did an iron bridge, and the exorcism talisman almost brushed past Wang Yu's face. By this point, the Fist of the Halls of Heaven had already closed in on Wang Yu. Seeing that Wang Yu had dodged to the side, the Fist of the Halls of Heaven pulled out a talisman and slapped it onto his scepter. Instantly, the scepter transformed into a giant hammer. Then, he leaped into the air and swung it at Wang Yu. Fist of the Heaven was a paladin scepter that turned into a heavy weapon. It leaped and attacked its target, knocking them into the air. Since ancient times, knights and warriors had always shared similar skills. Fist of the Heaven was similar to a warrior's collapsing mountain. except it dealt more holy damage. Wang Yu was facing the sky with his back to the yellow soil. When he saw the fist of the heavens coming down on him, he pushed off with his legs and flipped backward, dodging the fist of the heavens by a hair's breadth. But when Fist of the Heavens dropped to one knee, the skill's effect activated. As the scepter smashed into the paint, a shockwave rippled out in all directions. Wang Yu was sent flying into the air. Fist of the Heaven pulled out a rune and slapped it onto the ground. A black circle appeared beneath Wang Yu and Fist of the Heaven's feet. At the same time, a debuff appeared on Wang Yu's body. Rune of Gravity, movement speed reduced by 50%. Wow, not bad. Wang Yu exclaimed in surprise when he saw Fist of the Heaven's actions. Even though Wang Yu had never fought against a paladin before, Wang Yu had played the game for a long time. He had some understanding of the game settings. The higher the priority of a class skill, the longer the stun duration would be. Paladins were one of the strongest classes in Rebirth. The stun duration after a skill was more than enough for an agility-based class to launch a counterattack. Chapter 686. To be able to unleash another skill before the previous one. Fist of the Heavens was undoubtedly using manual mode. Archer Master Annoyance was using manual mode. Shield Warrior Thunder God was also using manual mode. And today, Nieyan had encountered Fist of the Heavens. It seemed that no professional player would use manual mode. Wang Yu was buffed by gravity. Fist of the Heavens covered himself with a guardian aura, then swung his staff at Wang Yu. When Wang Yu saw the incoming Fist of the Halls of Heaven, he tilted his body to the side and quick recover. At the same time, he activated his lightness skills and leaped into the air. Just as the Fist of the Halls of Heaven's scepter was about to reach him, Wang Yu leaped over the Fist of the Halls of Heaven's head and stomped down on the back of it. Dash 1111, as the tank of tanks, Guardians were equipped to the teeth. Their defense was incredibly high. Fist of the Heavens' HP only dropped slightly when Wang Yu stomped on him. However, Fist of the Heavens was using manual mode, so he lost his balance after missing his target. Wang Yu stomped on the back of his head and sent him crashing to the ground. Gravity's 50% movement speed reduction was incredible. When Wang Yu landed on the ground, he wanted to give Fist of the Heavens a few more kicks. However, before Wang Yu could reach Fist of the Heavens was already back on his feet. The instant Fist of the Heavens fell to the ground, he slapped a palm rune on the ground. As soon as Wang Yu arrived beside Fist of the Heavens, a blue light flashed under their feet, and a huge circle appeared. Then, a beam of blue light shot out from the ground, and Wang Yu leaped into the air again. Guardian Knight class skill, Rising Formation. Rising Formation was also a basic skill for Guardian Knights. Its damage was pitifully low, but as long as an enemy entered its range, they would be knocked into the air. It was a crowd control skill. Warlocks and Guardian Knights were two of the most expensive classes. Not only did they suffer, but they were also equally disgusting. Haha, are you stupid now? Let's see if you can still quick recover. The Fist of the Halls of Heaven laughed heartily and swung his warhammer behind him, sending a gravitational force out toward Wang Yu. As soon as Wang Yu was within range of the Fist of the Halls of Heaven, the Fist of the Halls of Heaven finished building up power, and the warhammer smashed down toward Wang Yu. Guardian Knight skill, Starfall. Starfall Strike was a powerful DPS skill for Guardian Paladins. When it hit an airborne target, it would deal 100% more damage. Even a brawler like Wang Yu would probably lose half his HP if he was hit head-on. In midair, Wang Yu smiled, and a blue light flashed across Wang Yu's body. Seeing the blue light, Fist of the Heavens' expression changed. This is impossible. Didn't he use his internal breath just now? The first time Fist of the Halls of Heaven had sent Wang Yu into the air, it was to force Wang Yu to use internal breath. Who knew that Wang Yu hadn't even used a skill? Instead, he had used his own technique to adjust his angle in midair. He hadn't used internal breath at all. This wasn't Fist of the Heavens' fault. Although he could quick recover while in midair, there weren't many in the professional circle who could do that. He didn't think that Wang Yu could do it. When he saw Wang Yu use internal breath, Fist of the Heaven was dumbfounded. At the same time, he finally understood why Blood Red looked at him as if he were a dead man. Internal breath surge, knockback, enhanced eagle stamp, assault stomp. In midair, Wang Yu instantly turned into a ball of fire and fell from the sky. The landing effect of assault stomp lifted Fist of the Heaven into the air. Wang Yu stepped forward and pressed his right hand against Fist of the Heaven's head, activating Collapsing Fist. Under the impact of Collapsing Fist, Wang Yu grabbed Fist of the Heaven and dashed forward a few meters, smashing Fist of the Heaven's head into the wall. Bang! 2214-2142 Bursting Fist and Touch Strike activated at the same time, and Heaven's Fist's health bar plummeted. Then, Wang Yu's uppercut smashed into Heaven's Fist's chin, sending it into the air once more. Then, Wang Yu reached out with both arms, grabbed Heaven's Fist, and pulled him down. Then, she bent her knees and struck Heaven's Fist in the stomach. Knee strike, fierce tiger strike, elbow strike, and assault stomp. Under the dazzling flurry of attacks, Fist of the Heaven was reduced to a ball of white light by Wang Yu. TSK. Too bad he didn't drop any equipment. Wang Yu had always been a one-shot player. The number of players who could take a hit from Wang Yu's combo could be counted on one hand. Fist of the Heaven's equipment was clearly not weak. After killing Fist of the Heaven, Wang Yu muttered regretfully and ran after Wuji. A few seconds later, Fist of the Heaven reappeared at the resurrection point. Looking at the players lying in ambush outside the resurrection point, he wanted to crawl into a hole in the ground. "Hey, I heard that someone saw Fist of the Heaven at the resurrection point," Blood Red said in a gloating tone. "Huh, is that so? Then why didn't he come back?" "Don't shoot," asked in confusion. Bloodthorn sneered. "He's embarrassed to come back, probably. All right, you guys go catch the fish that got caught." The leader shook his head helplessly. "Okay." Just as Blood Rain, Blood Red, and the others were about to chase after Wang Yu's group, a distress message suddenly came through the guild channel. "Not good. Just now, a few other players from Chuanjin rescued the Warlock of Chuanjin from a medicine shop." Don't Shoot was shocked when he saw the message. What? They still dared to take the initiative to attack. In Don't Shoot's mind, Don't Shoot thought that Chuanjin's group should have been too scared to show their faces after being ambushed by their own people. Who knew that these guys would be so bold? Not only did they not take the opportunity to hide, they even took the initiative to attack. Big Bear had even gone to announce that Chuanjin's group was too scared to come out. Who would have thought that they would be slapped in the face? "Quick, everyone, go to the resurrection point. They're going to stick together, so they'll definitely save their companions." The team leader hastily gave everyone an order. Blood Rain, Blood Red, and the other experts left the office and ran toward the resurrection point like a swarm of bees. In an inconspicuous corner not far from the resurrection point, Wang Yu and the others, who were disguised as new players, saw that more and more people were pointing their swords at the sky at the resurrection point. They frowned and said, "Damn, these guys really came to the resurrection point." Wuji chuckled. "Hee, a big guild bullying a small guild is nothing more than this. The resurrection point is already blocked. What are you laughing at?" Wang Yu did not understand. Wuji smiled. "Don't you think that we've gone from being passive to being active?" Wang Yu was stunned when he heard this. As expected, the Quanjin sect was the target of the ambush at the beginning. The enemy had always been hiding in the dark. If the Quanjin sect continued to cower, the situation would definitely continue to be in a stalemate. Chapter 687. The reason why Wuji was able to lead Chuanjin out of danger every single time was because of his precise grasp of the battle situation. As the saying goes, war is unpredictable and water is unpredictable. With Wuji's flexible and ever-changing tactics, coupled with the group of wretched experts from Chuanjin, they were able to turn from prey in the open to hunters in the dark. After all, scaring and harassing their opponents in a safe place was their greatest joy in playing the game. Realizing that the situation was starting to change for the better, Wang Yu could not help but look at Wuji again. This guy was simply too scary. Just by casually stirring up trouble, he could directly turn the tables on both sides. From this, it could be seen that all of Wuji's actions were within his calculations. Obviously, Wuji was not doing this on purpose. It was as if someone was attacking Wang Yu, and Wang Yu could think of a way to counter it. This was a habit and instinct that had been cultivated for many years. Only God knew what kind of environment would give a person such an instinct. Should we charge in and rescue them now? Yin Lao Air glanced at the finger in the sky players at the Resurrection Point's entrance and asked Wuji. Wuji smiled and said, "No need. They need a target to attract their attention now. Moreover, the ones blocking the entrance are the ones who ambushed us. Even if it's Old Cow, he can at most guarantee that he can escape by himself. It'll be a waste of time for us to go." At this time, all the experts from Finger in the Sky were blocking the Resurrection Point's entrance. They were all experts among experts, and they were not weaker than the people from Chuanjin. Moreover, they knew that the people from Chuanjin were gathering, so they must have made some arrangements. If Wang Yu was alone, he might be able to come and go as he pleased. However, it was obviously very difficult for him to rescue Mingdu and the others from the Resurrection Point while being heavily surrounded. Should we take this opportunity to raid their nest? Bao San asked, unable to conceal the excitement in his voice. Although Bao San had not been ambushed, when he heard that these fellows had stolen the quest item he had risked his life for, as well as a skill book that he could use, his resentment was not as heavy as the others. Although Bao San was an honest person, he was one of the oldest members of the Quanjin sect. In the past, he was known as the Quanjin war god. It was because of his extreme personality and the way he did things was too crazy. He once caused the wrath of the heavens and the people in a game, causing the Quanjin sect to become the public enemy of the game. Finally, he could no longer stay in the game. Useless. Wuji waved his hand and said, "According to Blood Red War Flag, Sword in the Sky is a local guild. They can teleport directly from here to their guild encampment. We won't be able to steal it. Besides, they have so many people. I don't think we can reach their encampment before they leave." Then what should we do? Wang Yu also asked in puzzlement. The situation was finally reversed. They couldn't just wait here. There's no rush. Wuji smiled and sent a message in the guild channel. "Dao Shui, how are you guys doing? We're done. We're rushing to the revival point with Old Fish." Dao Shui replied quickly. Chuanjin's people did not like to return to the guild encampment, so most of their precious items were stored in the main city's bank. The guild encampment's warehouse used to have some materials, but after evildoers Run Wild waved his hand, the warehouse was almost emptied. Potions and other items were sold very quickly, so there was basically no stock in the warehouse. Now, there were only some girls' daily necessities left. They were not valuable and not much, so they were all moved back and forth twice. Hee, Wuji chuckled and said to Mingdu in the channel, "Old Li, go pull some aggro." All right. Mingdu, who was sitting at the revival point in a daze, received Wuji's order and jumped up excitedly, running out of the revival point. "Let's go and kill the normal players of Finger the Heavens." After giving Mingdu the task, Wuji gave the others quests. Outside the revival point, Finger the Heavens had many experts. It was true that they were well organized, but there were many Finger the Heavens players. There was no need to fight them head-on. Didn't Finger the Heavens want to be famous? Let them die a quick death first. Speaking of which, we can't just randomly search the streets. Seeing Wuji's despicable behavior, Wang Yu sweated. Pointing sword at the heavens was easy to recognize since they all wore badges on their chests. However, it would be difficult to hunt them down inside and outside of the city. With so many players in Afterglow City, it would be extremely inefficient to hunt them down one by one. Wuji said, "Of course not. I've already talked to Blood Red War Flag. Blood Alliance will report the coordinates of Finger the Heavens players." Blood Red War Flag? Didn't they not interfere? Wang Yu asked in confusion. Wuji laughed. They didn't interfere. They just told them to report their coordinates. They didn't kill anyone. Finger the Heavens took advantage of the transfer season to poach Blood Alliance's players, causing them to suffer a huge loss. However, Finger the Heavens took the proper path. So no matter how unhappy Blood Alliance was, they had to endure it. Wuji was right. If they didn't kill Finger the Heavens players, then they wouldn't interfere. After all, Finger the Heavens was the one who attacked them first. Even if they knew it was Blood Alliance who told them, they had to bite the bullet. With such a chance to take revenge, Blood Red War Flag obviously wouldn't let it go. It was impolite not to return the favor. If a small guild like Xuanjin wanted to deal with a big guild, they had to sow discord. Yu Wen, Wang Yu, Chun Xiang, and the others heard this and gave Wuji a thumbs up before leaving. At the resurrection point, the experts from Heavenly Sword, who had been keeping an eye on their targets, saw Mingdu and Pride walking toward the entrance of the resurrection point. They thought that Wang Yu and the others had arrived, so they tensed up. Everyone was on high alert as they looked around cautiously. However, they didn't see any suspicious people on the street. Did they change their equipment? Blood Red said with a frown. Experts were experts. They immediately thought of the main point. That makes sense. Everyone looked carefully. They might have changed their equipment. Don't Look at Guns heard Blood Red's words and ordered in the channel. At this time, Blood Rain said calmly, even if they change their equipment, the badge on their chest won't change. Blood Red, you idiot. Are you looking at their clothes? Ugh. Blood Red's face turned red. No, I was just saying. What about you guys? Blood Rain asked Don't Shoot. Ugh. Don't Shoot lowered his bald head after another round of observation. They still didn't see anyone from Xuanjin. Don't Shoot let out a long sigh of relief. At this time, Mingdu stood at the edge of the safe zone and shouted at Don't Shoot. Hey, what are you looking at? Look here. Chapter 688. Seeing that no one was paying attention to him, Mingdu said slyly, If you guys don't look at me, I'm leaving. As he said that, Mingdu lifted his leg and walked out. Just as he stepped out of the resurrection point, Blood Rain, Blood Red, and the other archers immediately aimed at Mingdu. Mingdu smiled and retracted his leg. Hey, you want to hit me? Everyone stared at Mingdu. Look, I'm coming out. Mingdu jumped forward and jumped out of the resurrection point. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Just as Mingdu jumped out of the circle, the sound of arrows being fired rang out. At the same time, Mingdu jumped back into the resurrection point. All the arrows missed and fell to the ground. Mingdu stuck out his middle finger in the resurrection point and smiled at everyone around him. I'm going in again. Come and hit me. F***CK. Seeing Mingdu's despicable look, Captain Don't Shoot almost spat out a mouthful of blood. I dare you to come out and try. Captain Don't Shoot said angrily. Mingdu pinched his nose and said, Call me Daddy, and Daddy will satisfy you. F***CK. Captain Don't Shoot was furious. He swung his weapon and was about to enter the resurrection point to beat him up when he was stopped by Bloodspike and Bloodwolf. Bloodwolf said, Captain, don't stoop to his level. There's no need to be angry at a fool. Bloodwolf used to be in the Blood Alliance and was a famous expert. He had heard of the people in Xuanjin and knew what Mingdu was like. Captain Don't Shoot was someone who listened to advice. After being persuaded by Bloodwolf, he immediately calmed down and looked coldly at Mingdu, provoking him alone. Mingdu had nothing to do anyway. He stood at the edge of the resurrection point and made all sorts of despicable acts. This made Finger Sky and the others furious. After a while, when Mingdu was tired of cursing, To Place One's Pride jumped out from another resurrection point. He shook his head and pointed his sword at the sky. To Place One's Pride, everyone's attention shifted to him. To Place One's Pride, he was not as despicable as Mingdu. His way of provoking others was also very childish. His every 3 sentences were always about female relatives. However, his childish provocations were often more infuriating. To Place One's Pride, Exquisite Dream, came out from the archer's revival point. She sat down and pointed at everyone, saying, Quick, call me Granny. Great. She had become the female relative of Heaven Pointing Sword. The 3 of them took turns to provoke each other without stopping. The people blocking the door were all great experts. They were a group of ruthless people who had nothing better to do. When they heard someone form a group to be their parents, There was no need to mention the fire in their hearts. All of them were provoked, and their fighting spirit soared. They wanted nothing more than to skin the three of them alive. After a while, Bloodrain, who had always been calm, suddenly asked the captain not to shoot. "Captain, don't you think it's strange?" "Oh, what's wrong?" the captain asked. "Why haven't the reinforcements from Chuanjin arrived yet?" Bloodrain replied. "The others were enough to stop the three of them. Bloodrain and the others were here to stop the reinforcements from Chuanjin. They were so focused on getting angry at these three scum that they had forgotten their main purpose of coming here." "Yeah, that's right. It's been so long. Why aren't they here yet?" Don't Shoot was slightly taken aback. Just as he was about to open the guild channel to ask if there were any traces of the Quan Jun sect players, a message came from the guild channel. "Boss, we've been ambushed." "What? Ambushed? Who ambushed us?" The captain was shocked when he saw Careful. He asked cautiously. "A total of 7 people. The leader is a warlock. His poison is especially strong. The other 6 are mages. They instantly killed our party. We couldn't even see what they looked like. The system notified us that we have an anonymous item. Damn, it's Chuanjin." The captain couldn't help but curse when he saw the message. 7 people? 1 warlock and 6 mages can instantly kill people? The captain frowned. Does Chuanjin have that many mages? This person was a mage called Apocalypse. He was also a professional player that the captain had found. He was usually quiet, but when he heard about mages, he couldn't help but be confused. The captain said, "Chuanjin's warlock is Chun Xiang. The other 6 aren't mages, they're summoning imps." "Summoning imps?" Bloodrain was shocked. "I didn't think that such a terrifying skill would be in Chuanjin's hands. If he had used it when we ambushed them in the morning, we probably wouldn't have been able to succeed so easily." Chun Xiang's ability to summon imps wasn't a secret. However, Bloodrain focused on training and rarely participated in Blood Alliance's matters, so he didn't know that Chun Xiang had this skill. Most professional players had participated in the closed beta, so Bloodrain was very clear on the strength of summoning imps. Apocalypse said in disdain, So what if he can summon imps? No matter how many imps he summons, it's just a few more meat shields." Armageddon was right. Controlling summoned pets was a skill. Not only did it require strong reflexes, but it also required exceptional calculation skills to control the summoned pets. As a result, the more monsters one summoned, the more difficult it would be to control them. Normally, it would be difficult to control 2, not to mention 6. The captain said, "That Chun Xiang is very strong. I fought with him during the closed beta. He's quite a scary person." "Really? I have to meet him when I have time." Apocalypse smiled. Apocalypse wasn't a brainless youth like Heaven's Fist. Seeing that the captain thought so highly of Chun Xiang, he just smiled and didn't retort. Just as the captain was talking to the 2, another message flashed in the guild. "Boss, we've been killed. It's that priest from Chuanjin." "Priest? How can a priest kill people?" The more Captain Don't Shoot heard, the more confused he became. Priests had low damage output. Although they had many crowd control skills, they were all small crowd control skills. Killing people wasn't a job for a priest. I don't know what magic he used, but he trapped us and tortured us to death one by one. The tone of the victims was filled with sorrow. It was clear that Wuji's methods were insane. It couldn't be helped. Wuji definitely wanted to give them a quick death. F***CK. The captain's hand couldn't help but tremble. "Boss, we've been killed. 2 warriors. Boss, we've been killed. Someone stabbed us in the back. Boss, we've been killed. We didn't see anyone, only arrows." In just a few minutes, a series of messages flashed across the screen. Players from Finger Heaven had been ambushed one after another. The way the sacrifice players died was basically the same, all by the hands of Chuanjin, and the number of casualties that continued to rise. Looking at the casualty records on the screen, the captain stopped firing and closed the chat interface. He said angrily, "Damn it, these guys actually took the initiative to attack our people." Chapter 689. We can't hide. Don't Shoot said. "Hiding now is the worst for us. Don't Shoot. Since they sent people to ambush Chuanjin, they naturally knew the difference between ambushing and being ambushed. After being ambushed, the best thing to do was to gather people and launch a counterattack. If they just hid, then the ones at the revival point wouldn't be Chuanjins. Most importantly, Big Bear and Wait For Me was on the forums. Yu Huiqing's players were all waiting to see Chuanjin's show. If they hid now, wouldn't they be slapping themselves in the face? Everyone gather at the revival point and then chase after them. Don't Shoot thought about it and decisively gave a counterattack order in the guild channel. As soon as the captain gave the order not to shoot, a large group of people came running out of the resurrection point. They were all players from Finger Heaven. *MN. How are they so fast? The party leader, Don't Shoot, couldn't help but be shocked when he saw that his guild had gathered so many people in an instant. Usually, these bastards were always slow. Why were they so efficient today? Seeing that his little brother was so proud, Don't Shoot even showed off to Bloodrain. TSK. Finger Heaven's efficiency is much higher than Blood Alliance's, right? Bloodrain said calmly. And the efficiency is quite high. If it was Blood Alliance, there wouldn't be so many people being ambushed. Don't Shoot was stunned when he heard that. Damn, he was so happy that he forgot how his own people came so quickly. However, there was nothing wrong with Bloodrain's words. The Blood Alliance was an old guild, and they always picked on players. Finger at the Heavens was far less famous than the Blood Alliance, so naturally, it was picked by players. There were all sorts of crooked weapons. After all, no matter how rich the party leader was, he couldn't arm normal players. At the same time, Don't Shoot was shocked at the efficiency of Chuanjin's people. No matter how bad Finger Heaven's players were, they were all above level 30. If they just stood there and didn't move, it would take a while for them to kill. Chuanjin only had 8 people who could fight at the moment. To be able to kill so many people in such a short period of time, it could be seen that this group of people was extremely efficient and terrifying. After all, there were people with the heavenly sword everywhere, and it would take half a day to find them. Damn it, the people from Chuanjin have a GPS, so what? Thinking of this, the captain smacked his lips and muttered to himself. When the players from Finger the Heavens saw that their companions had been killed, they all felt threatened. When they received orders from their captain not to shoot, they immediately ran back. On the way back, they were intercepted by Chuanjin's group. Some died, while others ran. Not long after, more than 2,000 players from Finger the Heavens had gathered at the resurrection point. Old Dog Wuji, they're going to gather to capture you. Seeing this, Mingdu and the others quickly sent a message to Wuji. Hehe, I knew they would do this. Wuji smiled and ordered again, go hide in the store and harass them from behind. Got it. After receiving the order, Wang Yu, Chun Xiang, and the others found the nearest store and hid. The store was a safe area, and it was also a gathering place for players. It was very easy to hide, and it was the best place to kill. From the news of all the players who had been killed, the team leader came to the conclusion that the people from the Quanjun sect were hiding in the city. Therefore, he split the 2,000 players into 8 teams to hunt down the people from the Quanjun sect. The captain did not believe that the people from Chuanjin had the ability to fight a few hundred people alone. Wang Yu was skilled and daring. He was the closest to the resurrection point, so he hid in the blacksmith shop and pretended to be forging. Soon, the first batch of people from Finger the Heavens walked past the entrance of the blacksmith shop. Wang Yu squinted his eyes as he watched the group of people from Finger the Heavens walk past. Then, he quietly followed behind them. Hey, brother, you don't look familiar. Are you new? As Wang Yu followed the group to the corner of the street, a player from Finger the Heavens noticed Wang Yu and asked in confusion. Wang Yu said, no, I've been playing this game for a few months. Is that so? I don't think I've seen you before. What's your name? The person heard him and sized up Wang Yu. Iron Ox. Wang Yu smiled slightly and reached out to grab the person's neck, activating neck break. The player at the back of the group was definitely a ranged class. He was weak and fragile. Kacha. The player was crushed into white light. Not good. Iron Ox is at the back of the group. The player's reaction was not slow. The moment he heard Wang Yu say his ID, he reacted and shouted in the group channel. The player from Finger the Heavens saw the message and immediately turned around. He saw a large Grandmaster of Combat wielding a long staff. In one move, he had killed 3 archers at the back. F*CK, Magician, kill him. The leader of the Finger the Heavens party, Glib Tongue, saw the white light at the back of the group and immediately gave the order. Because the tankers were all at the front, it was too late to change the formation. They could only let the magician attack. However, a magician's attack had a casting time. By the time the magician finished casting, Wang Yu's side had already killed a path of blood and fled. Only Finger Heavens and the others were left with a stunned expression. What the F*CK is going on? Eloquent Tongue was completely dumbfounded. From the moment Wang Yu appeared to the moment she disappeared, it had only been a dozen seconds. Before Eloquent Tongue could clearly see what Wang Yu looked like, Wang Yu had already disappeared. Wang Yu had even killed a dozen people along the way. This was like a dream. Boss, we've been ambushed again. A dozen of our brothers died. After being ambushed, Glib Tongue immediately reported to the leader, "Don't shoot." The leader, "Don't shoot," wiped his sweat and replied, "How are they?" "One got away." Glib Tongue said, "Oh." The leader, "Don't shoot," heaved a sigh of relief. The others were killed. There's only one Grandmaster of Combat. F*CK. The leader, "Don't shoot," was so angry that he cursed. However, on second thought, there were only 2 Grandmasters of Combat in Chuanjin. The younger one was stuck at the revival point, so the older one had to be Wang Yu. The leader, "Don't shoot," had seen Wang Yu escape from the pursuit of a few hundred Blood Alliance members. He knew that Wang Yu's running ability was not ordinary, so when he thought of this, the leader, "Don't shoot," did not scold his subordinate. Only that Grandmaster of Combat is slightly stronger in Chuanjin. The others are nothing to be afraid of. Just be careful. The leader, "Don't shoot," comforted him. At this moment, the leader, "Don't shoot," received another report. "Boss, we've been ambushed." Another Grandmaster Combat? The leader, "Don't shoot," was shocked. "No, it's a warlock. Just him alone?" The leader, "Don't shoot," asked. "I don't know how many people there are, but there should only be one attacking us." "What do you mean there should only be one?" The other side said with a sobbing tone, "We didn't even see the shadow of the ambusher. We only saw the skill." Chapter 690. Chun Xiang was a wretched person, and he played a wretched class. He turned the warlock into an assassin. Seeing the Finger the Sky players pass by, he followed them with the demons. He laid down a dark ward and threw a toxic nova to catch the archers off guard. Then, he turned around and ran back to the shop under the cover of the demons. The Finger the Sky players were ambushed, and they chased out of habit. In the end, they crashed into the dark ward and were beaten up by the 6 demons there. Chun Xiang's poison was specially made, and its toxicity was very strong. With a poison nova, the archers almost lost half their lives. Then, Chun Xiang's darkness controlled their barriers, and the archers were abused by the demons. These pitiful guys only saw Chun Xiang's skills before they died. Thinking that it was Chun Xiang who could summon imps, "Don't shoot" sighed. "I've seen that warlock before. He's quite wretched. Be careful, the others aren't enough. Boss, we were ambushed." While Don't Shoot was talking to him, he received another message. F*CK. Who ambushed you this time? Don't Shoot was a little annoyed. It's the same cleric. This unlucky guy had encountered Wuji twice in a row. He must have forgotten to check his almanac before going out. "How did the cleric ambush you?" Don't Shoot said angrily. The cleric was a non-combat class. It was impressive for him to kill one person, but Finger the Sky had more than 200 people. How could they be ambushed by a cleric? "It's the same old trick. He released a cloud of fog and trapped us," the person replied. "We were just trapped. There shouldn't be any casualties, right?" Don't Shoot asked again. He didn't believe that Wuji could kill them in such a situation. "We were wiped out." The person on the other side sounded very depressed. Uff. Don't Shoot finally spat out a mouthful of blood. "Useless. We were wiped out by a cleric. What the hell are you doing?" Don't shoot cursed. It wasn't the cleric who killed us. We were killed by passing players. What do you mean? After the cleric trapped us, he shouted on the street, "Help me kill the snake demon boss. The equipment that drops belongs to whoever picks it up." F***CK. When the captain, "Don't shoot," heard this, he completely broke down. He hugged his head and squatted on the ground. Right after that, Captain Don't Shoot, who was on the verge of collapsing, kept receiving news. Without exception, all of them were ambushed. The way they did things was exactly the same. It could be summed up in 16 words. When the enemy advances, we retreat. When the enemy retreats, we chase. When the enemy is stationed, we harass. When the enemy is tired, we attack. What was more frightening was that this group of fellows from Xuanzhen came and went without a trace. They were so wretched that they could not be more wretched. They specialized in fishing out people from behind. Other than Wang Yu, the Grandmaster of Combat, who came out to fight head-on, the others did not even show their faces. For a moment, everyone was in a state of panic. Even though there were more than 100 people walking together, they still felt a chill down their spines. They were afraid that someone would suddenly appear and stab them. Compared to a veteran guild like Blood Alliance, the elite players from Finger in the Heavens were indeed much weaker. For this group of wretched fellows from Xuanzhen to harass this motley crew, it was a piece of cake. Of course, if they were to really fight, the dozen or so people from Xuanzhen weren't enough. However, in the game, lives were unlimited. Xuanzhen's viciousness had no limit. After all, so what if Blood Alliance destroyed Xuanzhen's guild base? Did it matter if they had a base or not? It would only increase their anger. If they really angered this group of fugitives and harassed them every day, no one would be able to take it. Back then, Blood Alliance was afraid of being beaten up by Xuanzhen, so they chose to reconcile. From this, it could be seen that Blood Red Warflag was an understanding person. F***CK. F***CK. At this moment, seeing his little brother being beaten up by Xuanzhen, the captain didn't even know how to say anything else. His mouth was full of curses. Actually, a battle between a big guild and a small guild shouldn't be like this. Normally, the players from small guilds weren't that strong. They were just playing around, so even if they wanted to use harassment tactics, they wouldn't be able to. However, this group of people from Xuanzhen was different. This group of people were all top experts. They weren't much weaker than gods in the professional circle. Every one of them had the ability to insta-kill someone. If there were too many people, they would hide and stab you in the back. If there were too few people, you wouldn't be able to beat them at all. They even blocked a few of them at the revival point. If a mass destruction class like Mingdu was released against normal players from Finger in the Heavens, Mingdu's destructive power would definitely be much greater than Wang Yu's. As the saying went, one shouldn't be afraid of thieves stealing, but afraid of thieves remembering. Being targeted by this group of people wasn't that annoying. Anyway, the captain was having a headache from not shooting. "God, Blood Rain, what do you think we should do?" The captain looked at Blood Rain and begged. Blood Rain calmly analyzed. "It seems like these people are top experts in harassment tactics. You guys definitely won't be able to deal with them. So, just listen to me from the start and have your people hide." "Is it too late for me to have them come back now?" the captain asked. "Yes, let them guard here." Blood Rain nodded and said, "Guard the revival point?" the captain said with some reluctance. "Then wouldn't we be very passive?" "It's safe to guard the revival point. Leave Xuanzhen to us," Blood Rain said. Xuanzhen was a lone wolf. They were small targets and had high mobility. Finger in the Heavens was a large target with a few hundred people. They definitely wouldn't have an advantage against these small elites. So if they wanted to deal with Xuanzhen, they had to fight fire with fire. Blood Rain and the others were all professional experts. Their strength was extremely high and their combat awareness was strong. Their individual strength was slightly better than the Quanjin sect's members. There was no room for the Quanjin sect's harassment tactics to be used. "Then I'll have to trouble you." Seeing Blood Rain volunteer, the captain felt much more at ease and said excitedly, "Captain, don't say that. We're all doing this for the guild." Blood Rain said politely and then went to gather people. The pro players on Swordfinger Sky's side were all poached by Captain Don't Shoot with high prices. Some were retired experts, some had stains on their history, and all of them were solo players. Only Blood Alliance's 4 were poached in one go. Among them, Blood Rain was the most famous expert. Plus, the 4 from Blood Alliance had come in a group, so everyone was very willing to listen to Blood Rain. Originally, Fist of Heaven was Blood Rain's enemy. At this moment, Fist of Heaven had been beaten down by Wang Yu. Everyone treated Blood Rain as the captain, and he had no choice but to follow behind. After gathering everyone, Blood Rain formed a team and pulled everyone in. He then ordered, "We'll split up later. They should be hiding not far from the ambush coordinates. These are the coordinates." Chapter 691. With that said, Blood Rain took out a map from his bag. Then, he drew the coordinates of the ambush on the map. At the same time, he also marked which person from the Quan Zhen sect was lying in ambush here. "Do you guys see anything?" Blood Rain asked. "Your handwriting is so ugly." Fist of the Heaven said disdainfully, glancing at the map. Blood Rain ignored Fist of the Heaven and explained to the others, "These ambushes are all centered around these 5 locations." As he spoke, he drew 5 more circles on the map. "What do you see this time?" Blood Rain asked. "It's the shops." As Blood Rain student, Blood Red was the first to discover the similarity between the 5 locations. Every ambush area had shop. "Not bad." Blood Rain nodded. "All the ambushes are centered around these 5 shops. From this, it can be seen that these 5 shops are the safest places for them to hide. What we need to do now is to take them down one by one. Write double quotation mark. Take them down one by one." "That's easy. Isn't there one nearby?" A warrior behind Blood Rain said, pointing at the location of the blacksmith shop on the map. This warrior was called Xiaoxiang Bladesk. He was a weapon warrior and a dual-wield warrior. He carried 2 great swords on his back and looked very Chinibu. Because of the backpack system in the game, it was much more convenient to take weapons from a backpack than from a person's back. Most people who carried weapons on their backs were Chinibu patients. "No." As soon as Xiaoxiang Bladesk finished speaking, Blood Red and Fist of the Heaven spoke in unison. Ugh! Everyone was stunned to see the 2 enemies speaking in unison. The 2 were stunned as well. Then they pointed at each other and cursed. "Don't copy my words." They spoke in unison again, as if they had rehearsed it. Everyone could feel the awkwardness between the 2. "All right, one by one. Heaven, you go first." As the leader, Blood Rain was naturally more magnanimous. He let go of his hatred and let Fist of the Heaven speak first. "Do you think I'll speak just because you want me to? I'm not going to." Fist of the Heaven turned his head and ignored Blood Rain. "Then you speak." Blood Rain said, looking at Blood Red. Blood Red said, "It's best for us to avoid the blacksmith shop. That Grandmaster of Combat is very unusual." "Holy shit, Lil Red. Are you really scared, silly? You became like this after being killed once. How can you go to the battlefield with this kind of psychological quality?" Blood Wolf said in surprise. Bloodthorn said from the side, "That Grandmaster Combat does have some skills. Hee." Blood Wolf sneered and said, "Bullsh asterisk T. He's just stupid. He was killed by my time bomb. You know, damn time bomb? Is that kid blind?" When the various experts heard this, they were all shocked. To be killed by a skill like the time bomb, if it wasn't blind, then it was extremely bad luck. "Bullshit. Who the hell do you think you are? You think you have what it takes?" When Fist of the Halls heard Blood Wolf's words, he felt a bit irritated. The Fist of the Halls had been beaten to death by Wang Yu. If Wang Yu was truly blind, wouldn't that mean that the Fist of the Halls was a piece of trash? "Do you know how to speak human?" Blood Wolf wasn't a pushover. Hearing Fist of the Heaven scolding, his expression changed. Fist of the Heaven rolled up his sleeves. "What? Do you want to spar with me?" Trash. I'm not going to lower myself to your level." Seeing that Fist of the Heaven wanted to fight him, Blood Wolf snorted and fell silent. There was no helping it. Even though Fist of the Heaven was stupid, he had real skills. Otherwise, he wouldn't have dared to fight Blood Rain. Moreover, tanks were the bane of assassins, and Guardian Knights were the tanks of tanks. Fighting Fist of the Heaven against Bloodwolf would be suicide. Blood Rain hadn't personally witnessed Wang Yu's abilities, but seeing Blood Red and Fist of the Heaven intentionally avoid the smithy, he could guess that Wang Yu wasn't an ordinary person. If that's the case, then let's go somewhere else. Here, someone pointed at the general store. That priest is very cunning, and he seems to be the commander of Chuanjin. It's not a good idea to let him discover us too early. Then here, Blood Red said, pointing at the alchemy workshop. Blood Rain shook his head. There are 2 assassins here, and they can go into stealth. We can't catch them. Then it's the warlock and the archer. Seeing Blood Rain deny 2 places in a row, everyone said helplessly. Yeah, Blood Rain nodded. The archer is easy to deal with. As long as we lure her out, we can kill her. But the warlock is too cunning. If we alert her, she'll definitely run away. Then what do? Let's split into teams of 5. Q Sword, and I will ambush the archer. Blood Red and Heaven. The 5 of you will deal with the warlock. Blood Rain said. I'm not in the same team as him. Fist of the Heavens said. Then you'll be in the same team as me? Blood Rain asked. Fist of the Heaven twisted his neck again. Why should I? Blood Rain said helplessly. Heaven, everyone made me the leader. You're making things difficult for me by not listening to orders. Since we're in the same guild now, we should let bygones be bygones. That's because you're not banned. Who doesn't know how to make sarcastic remarks? Forget it, Blood Rain. I'll switch with Blood Red. Just then, Armageddon stepped forward. You and Blood Red? Is that okay? Armageddon smiled. I'm a mage, and I can't use much strength against an archer. Besides, I want to see the so-called Chuanjin warlock. All right, we'll do as you say. Blood Rain agreed with Armageddon's suggestion, then said, Everyone split up. We must lure our opponents out and kill them. We can't give them a chance to go back, got it? Got it. Let's go. At this time, in the Chuanjin channel, Wang Yu and the others were chatting idly. Hey, we only ambushed 1 wave. Why is there no one else? Wang Yu asked in confusion. Mingdu said, you don't know, right? Those idiots are hiding at the revival point. They don't dare to go out. No wonder. I said that the people from Blood Alliance didn't give us any information. I thought they were slacking. Famous Sword Dao Xue replied. Wuji laughed coldly. Those guys from Finger Heaven have seen our tactics. They'll definitely make a new move. Oh, what move? Wang Yu asked. If it were you, what would you do? Wuji asked Wang Yu. Kill a path and charge out. Wang Yu clenched his fists. Wuji was speechless. You're not human. Answer me like a normal person. Spring said, Do you think they'll release their pro-level experts to deal with us? Chapter 692. Wuji said, Finger the Heavens suffered such a big loss. Those experts will definitely come for us. Moreover, we are very scattered, so they will definitely attack us one by one. Attack us one by one? Those guys are very strong. Aren't we going to die? North Sea you said worriedly. Wuji said coldly. Those people are very strong, but we aren't weak either. What we want is for them to walk into the trap step by step. When you see them later, just like this. Wuji is still the most vicious. Everyone praised when they heard this. TCH, it's not that troublesome. Just let Uncle Nyo go and kill them. To place one's pride said. Wuji said, Those people are all professional players, not like those idiots from Finger the Heavens. 2 of them have already been killed by Old Cow, so they will definitely go around Old Cow. If we don't do this, we won't be able to catch them. Wang Yu nodded. Wuji is right. Little chick, you are so young. You need to use your brain, understand? To place one's pride, said disdainfully, with a cunning old dog like Wuji around, do I even need to use my brain? Wow, this kid is really made for being a leader. Quan Jun and the others were chatting happily when a player with a sword-shaped guild leader on his chest slipped past the entrance of the casino. The sword-shaped emblem was the guild emblem of Finger the Heavens. It was not too eye-catching, but the casino was quite remote and the streets were quite narrow. Although there were many players, it was easy to spot them. Chun Xiang was hiding at the entrance of the casino. When he saw that person walk past, he smiled. Enough chatting, they're here. At the same time, Yang Na also said in the channel, "I saw them too." After replying, Chun Xiang stuck his head out of the entrance of the casino wretchedly, and then sneakily followed. Armageddon was standing at the entrance of the casino. When he saw Chun Xiang come out, he immediately said to Fist of the Heavens, "Knock him up." Among all the classes, the Warlock had the most control skills, followed by the Guardian Knight. Although the damage output of these two classes wasn't high, with their endless stream of control skills, they could make their opponents wish they were dead. On the other hand, Chun Xiang was an expert with a legendary skill. Annihilate heaven and earth still held him in high regard. Only by controlling him would he be able to kill Chun Xiang. Fist of Heaven was only slightly awkward with the Blood Alliance, but he had a good relationship with the others. After receiving the order to destroy heaven and earth, Fist of Heaven charged towards Chun Xiang's back. Before the Fist of the Halls could reach Chun Xiang, a black circle appeared on the ground. F***CKME. Naturally, Fist of the Heaven knew that this was Dark Barrier, and he canceled his skill in shock. Fist of the Heaven's mechanics weren't weak. Even though the skill had been canceled, he didn't give up. He turned around and slapped a rune on his weapon. Then, he swung the Skyfall hammer at Chun Xiang. At that moment, Chun Xiang turned around. Fist of the Heaven couldn't help but be shocked when he saw Chun Xiang's wretched smile. At the same time, he saw a skull float out of Chun Xiang's staff and fly towards him. Although the Skyfall hammer had high priority, it had a weakness. It required him to jump. No matter how strong a player was, they wouldn't be able to move in the air without a special skill. Fist of the Heaven was currently in the air, and he couldn't dodge in time. He was directly hit by Chun Xiang's skull, and a fear symbol appeared above his head. Then, he fell from the sky halfway through the skill. Nightmare of Fear was a Warlock single-target control skill. It could put the enemy in a fear state for a long time, and they would only wake up after being attacked. He's exposed. Attack. Annihilate heaven and earth hurriedly ordered when he saw that Fist of the Heaven had been attacked. However, Annihilate heaven and earth hadn't even taken a few steps before his feet suddenly sank. A patch of thorns had firmly locked him in place. At that moment, the other three had already pounced on Chun Xiang. Chun Xiang retreated, and the 6 demons surrounded the 3 of them. Then, Chun Xiang's body began to slowly turn into mist. By the time the 3 melee players broke through the demon's line of defense and slashed at Chun Xiang, he had already turned into a cloud of black mist, completely ignoring their physical attacks. Annihilate heaven and earth spells couldn't reach Chun Xiang. He could only watch helplessly as Chun Xiang flew towards the roof and floated in another direction. Hiss! Annihilate heaven and earth couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. AoE immobilized skills usually had a long cooldown, but the timing and direction of Spring Source 2 skills were incomparably accurate. If Fist of the Heavens hadn't canceled the skill in time, the 2 crowd control players would have hit 100% of the time. What kind of estimation and accuracy was that? Although Fist of the Heavens had dodged the darkness barrier, Chun Xiang's Nightmare skill showed that everything was within his expectations. Nightmare of Fear was a slow skill, and it was relatively easy to dodge. Only players in the air would be hit. Needless to say, the 3 warriors behind him had been able to dodge even when facing each other. Naturally, this was within his calculations. Even among professional players, it was impossible to find someone who could calculate the timing of a skill with such precision. Annihilate. Should we chase after him? The other 3 asked Annihilate heaven and earth as they watched Chun Xiang fly away. These 3 players were also professional experts. Naturally, they could tell that Chun Xiang was extraordinary. However, against such an expert, they did not dare to rashly chase after him. After all, everyone's legs were short. Chasing after control class was taboo. When the time came, Annihilate heaven and earth control would be over. He quickly walked over to Fist of the Heaven and slapped him awake. Then he said, "After him." No matter how meticulous Chun Xiang's calculations were, when it came to a real battle, it still depended on one's control and reaction speed. Annihilate Heaven and Earth was quite confident in this aspect. If the five of them didn't even dare to chase after Chun Xiang, they would become the laughingstock of Blood Rain's group. Although everyone supported Blood Rain as the team leader, this was their first time here. No one wanted to be known as a coward. What Annihilate Heaven and Earth didn't know was that things weren't going smoothly for Blood Rain either. The archer is coming out. Shoot him. After Yang Na was lured out of the shop by one sword, Blood Rain, who was hiding in the distance, gave Blood Red the order. At the same time, he drew his bow and shot an arrow at Yang Na. In an instant, numerous arrows flew towards Yang Na. Although Yang Na was a woman, she was a descendant of a large family. She was quite familiar with the 7 astral steps. As soon as she left the shop, Yang Na was prepared. Hearing the wind behind her, Yang Na twisted her waist, lowered her head, turned around. She dodged all the arrows. Chapter 693. While Blood Rain and Blood Red were attacking, Bloodthorn and Bloodwolf had already made their moves, stabbing their daggers at Yang Na's waist. Yang Na seemed to have already known that the two of them would attack her from behind. In the instant she dodged the arrows, she lightly dodged to the side, evading the 2 daggers. At the same time, she tossed a bag of lime powder into the air. Immediately, a vast expanse of whiteness descended from the sky. The lime powder covered Yang Na's figure. Blood Rain and Blood Red lost their target, and Bloodthorn and Blood Red were also covered in a layer of white, preventing them from going into stealth again. Yang Na looked back at the two of them and kicked Bloodwolf's crotch. Bloodwolf's waist immediately bent down. Yang Na leaped up and stepped on Bloodwolf's back. After Bloodwolf was stepped on, his body straightened as if it was a conditioned reflex. Yang Na used this force to jump again and landed on a house not far away. Blood Rain and Blood Red saw Yang Na's figure again and were about to shoot, but Yang Na rolled forward to the other side of the house. The two lost their target again. Chase! Don't let her get away. Blood Rain saw that Yang Na wanted to run and decisively gave the order to chase. Blood Wolf and Blood Thorn laid on the wall and skillfully climbed onto the roof. When Sword also reacted and turned to run to the other side of the street. The 10 of them chased after the 2 targets, passing through several streets before they finally converged. What are you doing? Armageddon saw Blood Wolf and the others quickly approaching and couldn't help but ask. Stop the woman in front. Blood Red shouted as she ran. At this time, Yang Na was already in front of Chun Xiang. Armageddon and the others sweated. If you can't catch up, how are we supposed to? Mage Knights had short legs, so they were worlds apart from archers and assassins when it came to running. Then what are you guys doing here? Aren't you here to help? Blood Wolf asked. Armageddon pointed at Chun Xiang and said, We're chasing that warlock. Hey, slow down. Blood Wolf and Bloodthorn turned their heads and said disdainfully as they ran, If you're any slower, I'll even bang. Before Blood Wolf could finish his words, his head hit Chun Xiang's dark boundary. Armageddon facepalmed. I told you to slow down. At that time, Blood Rain and Blood Red had also caught up. The two of them drew their bows and knocked their arrows as they ran. 2 arrows flew out and went straight for Spring Source back. But at that moment, the 6 demons suddenly stood in a vertical line behind Chun Xiang. The 2 arrows hit the devil's body without any deviation. Blood Rain and Blood Red truly deserve to be called experts. 2 arrows shot through the heads of the 3 demons before stopping. Taking advantage of this gap, Chun Xiang once again pulled away from the others. This was the street where the casino was located. The street was very narrow, and Spring Source skills had a very large AoE. A casual cast could block more than half of the street. Moreover, Spring Source spells were incomparably wretched. His AoE crowd control skills crisscrossed behind him, and no one could pass through the entire street. Assassins and archers were originally agile classes, but when faced with Spring Soar, they couldn't help slowing down. However, AoE crowd control skills consumed a lot of mana. Chun Xiang had also added points into his physique. After chasing for a while, Chun Xiang finally stopped casting skills behind him. He's out of mana. Quick chase. Seeing that Chun Xiang had finally used up all his mana, Blood Rain took the lead and rushed forward. Just as Chun Xiang was about to enter Blood Rain's shooting range, Chun Xiang turned around and entered a shop. Damn, he's actually going to a shop at this time. He's courting death. When everyone saw Chun Xiang enter the shop, they couldn't help but sneer. The goal of Finger Heaven's group was to trap Qiuanjin's group in the safe zone and not dare to come out. Chun Xiang having so many people was undoubtedly playing into their hands. Moreover, a warlock class was more than enough to disgust people. In PvP, they weren't strong enough. Once Chun Xiang exposed his target, any one of the pursuers was confident that they could trap him inside and not let him out. In the next moment, everyone surrounded the entrance of the shop. Chun Xiang stood at the entrance and shouted with a wretched expression, "Hey, handsome, come in and play." Seeing this, Blood Rain and the others were speechless. Then, they looked up at the shop's name. The words Miscellaneous Goods Store came into view. Seeing Miscellaneous Goods Store, Blood Rain's expression changed drastically. Not good. We've been ambushed. Ambushed. Before the others could react to Blood Rain's words, they saw two people walk out of the Miscellaneous Goods Store. One was a cleric and the other was an archer. Blood Rain and the others were slightly shocked. Just as they were about to retreat, they saw two warriors walk over from the direction they came from, blocking the path of retreat of the pro players. At the same time, two figures appeared on the road in front of them. It was famous sword Dao Xue and Baiming Yoyu. Blood Rain looked around, smiled, and asked Wuji, not bad. You actually schemed against me step by step. As expected, you're not simple. You flatter me. Wuji smiled slightly. Scheming against you guys isn't difficult at all for me. Blood Rain was stunned by Wuji's words. Then, he sneered and said, I admit that your tactics are amazing, but you can't be thinking of surrounding the 10 of us with just 7 small fries, right? Both sides had fought once before, so they had some understanding of each other's strength. In terms of individual strength, the current Qiuanjin players were slightly weaker than Finger the Heavens group. Of course, Yang Na's mechanics were definitely not weaker than anyone here. She was behind Finger the Heavens group in terms of experience. These were all great experts who had PvP countless times. The difference in experience was enough for them to not be afraid of Yang Na. In particular, a cleric like Wuji wouldn't be of any use in PvP. When experts of this level fought, it was easy to instantly kill someone. DPS was the hard truth. Their own strength was slightly weaker than others, and Qiuanjin had 3 fewer people than Finger the Heavens. It was a bit of a joke to want to surround these pro players with such a lineup. Wuji smiled and said, if it was just 7 people, we naturally wouldn't dare to be so careless. Blood Rain smiled slightly. Oh, does your Qiuanjin have reinforcements? Before Finger the Heavens attacked Qiuanjin, they had already figured out Qiuanjin's strength. This group of people had always been good and evil. They didn't have any friends, and the only one that could be considered an ally was Blood Alliance. At this time, Blood Alliance had lost a group of experts and was greatly weakened. They couldn't even protect themselves, so where would they have the time to care about Qiuanjin? Of course we have reinforcements. As soon as Wuji finished speaking, a figure descended from the sky and landed in front of Finger the Heavens group. Seeing this familiar figure, Qiuanjin's people were excited. Fist of Heaven and Blood Red's hearts trembled. Blood Rain looked at Wang Yu in confusion and asked Wuji in confusion, this is your reinforcements. Chapter 694. Oh, Blood Rain looked up and down at Wang Yu, then looked around and asked, where are the others? Blood Rain still couldn't believe that one person could be counted as reinforcements. Wuji laughed and said, to deal with people like you, do I need many people? 1 is enough. 1? Are you King kidding me? Blood Rain, Finger Sword, and the others heard this and immediately became unhappy. 7 normal players against 10 professional players, and only 1 reinforcement? This was clearly looking down on them. Blood Red whispered, 1 is not bad. This person is very strong. Strong my ass. If I can kill him once, I can kill him a second time. Blood Wolf said disdainfully. His figure flashed and disappeared into the air. Seeing Blood Wolf disappear, Wang Yu smiled slightly. His right hand grabbed the air, and a white light shot out. Just as everyone was wondering what Wang Yu was doing, they saw Blood Wolf being grabbed out of the air and directly dragged in front of Wang Yu. After grabbing Blood Wolf in front of him, Wang Yu raised his right palm and hit Blood Wolf's chin. Blood Wolf didn't even have time to react before he was hit by Wang Yu and turned into white light. F***CK. Seeing Blood Wolf killed by Wang Yu, Finger Sword and the others were so scared that their faces changed. Blood Wolf was a young expert. Although his current strength wasn't top-notch, his talent was very high. If he trained for a few more years, he would definitely be among the top gods. Damn, he was killed in the blink of an eye. This was too shocking. Thinking of this, Blood Rain and Blood Red took a step back. Xiaoxiang's sword and Heaven's Fist took a step forward and blocked in front of the two. The other three warriors moved to the side, left, right, and back, protecting the vulnerable monsters in all directions. Professional experts were indeed different. Although they had never fought together before, their professionalism had already become a habit. When they fought, they could instinctively find the most suitable position. Compared to the professionals on the other side, the Chuanjin guys were more disorganized and undisciplined. When they saw Wang Yu make a move, they did not stand in formation. Instead, they pointed at Wang Yu and shouted, F***CK, old cow, why did you kill him? Our quest item is still with him. It doesn't matter. Wang Yu smiled and said, I'll kill him again when I have time. Even if I kill him again, he might not drop it. Everyone was anxious. In Rebirth, only the unlucky players would drop items. The fastest way to get the quest item was to force Blood Wolf to take it out himself. Wang Yu said boldly, if it doesn't drop, then kill a few more times until it does. The people of Chuanjin were all stunned. Then, Wuji shouted at the opposite side. Did you hear that? Tell that Blood Wolf of yours to remember to throw the things on the ground the next time he sees us. That way, at least 2 fewer people will die. Whoosh. Whoosh. A professional player like Blood Rain was not in the mood to argue with the people of Chuanjin. Before Wuji could finish speaking, 2 arrows flew out in response to Wuji. Wang Yu spread his hands and grabbed the 2 arrows. By then, the destructive icicles had already flown to Wang Yu's chest. Wang Yu jumped back and threw the 2 arrows. They hit the icicles, and the icicles turned into a cloud of blue mist. F***CK. This kid is so strange. Everyone attacked together. In just one round, Finger the Heavens team had witnessed Wang Yu's strength. They raised their weapons and attacked. The people of Chuanjin were naturally not just for show. When they saw Finger the Heavens team charging over, they also pounced forward and fought with Finger the Heavens team. Bao San and Yin Lao Air were the first to bear the brunt. They crashed into the formation of Finger the Heavens team. The 4 warriors on Finger the Heavens side were naturally not inferior to the 2. Before Bao San and Yin Lao Air could crash into each other, one of the shield warriors used taunt on them. Bao San and Yin Lao Air were directly attracted by the taunt. Xiaoxiang's sword held his sword with both hands and swung it behind him. He was about to use Whirlwind Slash on the 2. Whether it was a normal attack or a skill attack, a dual-wielding warrior's damage was 50% higher than a single-wielding warrior's. As a professional player, Xiaoxiang's sword's equipment was naturally not weak. Whirlwind Slash was also a warrior's main damage output skill. If Bao San and Yin Lao Air were to face it head-on, they would probably lose at least half their lives. Seeing this, Wang Yu took a step forward. He grabbed Xiaoxiang's sword back with both hands and threw him to the back. When the other 3 warriors saw that Xiaoxiang's sword skill was interrupted, they decisively attacked at the same time. They wanted to take over Xiaoxiang's sword's Whirlwind Slash. Wang Yu jumped between Bao San and Yin Lao Air. He pressed his hands on their shoulders and kicked out with both legs. Side kick, straight kick, thunder stamp. Wang Yu used 3 skills in 3 kicks. Although the completion rating wasn't high, the effects of his skills were still there. All 3 warrior skills were forcibly interrupted. The last shield warrior was even more unlucky. He suffered a thunder stamp from Wang Yu and was directly kicked to the ground. Wang Yu's big foot was less than a meter away from Blood Rain and Red Blood. Red Blood was scared silly. Blood Rain was worthy of being an expert. He took out an arrow and ruthlessly stabbed it towards Wang Yu's leg. Wang Yu pulled back his leg and quick recovered. Meanwhile, Blood Rain had already knocked an arrow on his bow. With a pull and release, the arrow flew towards Wang Yu. Ah! Wang Yu was slightly startled. He flipped forward, dodging Blood Rain's arrow. He flipped to Blood Rain's feet and reached out to grab him. Blood Rain reacted quickly. Seeing Wang Yu flip forward, he hurriedly used dodge. Who would have thought that just as he steadied himself, he would feel a huge force coming from beneath his feet. When he looked down, he saw that his legs had been grabbed by a pair of large hands. At the same time, the two warriors standing beside him had already turned around. They brandished their great swords and looked at the back of Wang Yu's neck. Wang Yu exerted strength in his hands and lifted Rain's arrow. With a twist of his waist, Wang Yu threw Blood Rain towards the two warriors. The two warriors were shocked. They hurriedly canceled their skills and dodged the flying Blood Rain. They took a step forward and protected Blood Rain once more. At this moment, Red Blood, who had been scared silly, also reacted. She drew her bow and shot towards Wang Yu's back. Wang Yu didn't even turn his head. He grabbed behind him with one hand and caught Red Blood's arrow. At the same time, he leaped and stepped on the two warriors, using the momentum to fly back to Red Blood's head. A good chance. Blood Rain saw Wang Yu jump into the air and fired another arrow. Eagle's stamp. Wang Yu forcefully landed on the ground and stepped on Red Blood's head. Red Blood screamed and turned into white light. Nearby, Armageddon wanted to help Red Blood, but he couldn't. This was because Chun Xiang had already waved his staff and cast two control skills, keeping Armageddon 10 meters away from Wang Yu. Immediately after, Chun Xiang summoned demons to surround Armageddon. Although Chun Xiang had 6 demons, Armageddon's damage was very high as a mage. As long as he paid attention to his position to avoid Chun Xiang's control skills, he wasn't afraid of Chun Xiang's shameless skills. The two fought back and forth until they were evenly matched. However, Wu Ji was very sinister. While Armageddon was focused on dealing with Chun Xiang, he hid in a corner and threw a holy flame at Armageddon's head. Chapter 695. Poor Armageddon. He had boundless mana, but after being muted, he was just a super soldier. Seeing that Armageddon had fallen for the trap, Heaven's Fist lowered his head and charged towards Chun Xiang, wanting to save him. Chun Xiang calmly pointed at the ground and shouted at Fist of Heaven, "Watch your step." Fist of the Heavens knew that Chun Xiang's skills were vicious, so he was on his guard. Plus, they weren't familiar with Heaven's destruction and Heaven and Earth, and they were in a hurry to get here. Fist of the Heavens didn't have time to figure out who was shouting at them, so he hurriedly stopped, slapped the talisman, leaped into the air, and unleashed Hammer Descent. 3 pure Tao Fathers, forgive this idiot. Chun Xiang laughed coldly and threw a hammer at Heaven's Fist. Heaven's Fist was paralyzed by fear. Without Heaven's Fist messing around, Wu Ji and Chun Xiang turned around and continued to attack Armageddon. Mages were a fragile class, and they were ganged up on by 8 burly men, demons. The result of ganging up on them could be imagined. They would be destroyed and die in an extremely sullen manner. After killing Armageddon, Wu Ji and Chun Xiang turned to deal with Heaven's Fist. It was true that Fist of Heaven's defense was thick, but a Guardian Knight's DPS mainly came from their skills. Wu Ji and Chun Xiang were veteran partners. One was wretched, the other was dirty. Muting, fearing, and all sorts of crowd control skills were thrown at Fist of Heaven. Bao San and Yin Lao Air surrounded Xiaoxiang's sword. Although Xiaoxiang's sword was a pro, Bao San and Yin Lao Air weren't weak either. They weren't a match for Xiaoxiang's sword in a 1v1, but 2 against 1 was a piece of cake. With 1 attacking and 1 defending, Xiaoxiang's sword was completely suppressed. The situation wasn't looking good. If it weren't for the tanky warrior class, Xiaoxiang's sword wouldn't have lasted this long. At this moment, Finger Heaven and the others finally understood why Chuanjin dared to surround 10 of them. With just Wang Yumiao, this Grandmaster of Combat was ridiculously strong. He alone was holding up 5 people, 2 archers and 3 warriors. One of the archers was a super expert like Blood Rain, and the other archer, Blood Red, had already reincarnated. After all, every game had a good grasp of the balance between the classes. Players were experts in combat, and their attributes were the most direct reflection. Under the restriction of attributes, unless one's mechanical skill was exceptional, it would be very difficult for one player to take on more than one. Let alone an ordinary player like Wang Yu, even a top-tier god in the professional circle wouldn't be able to complete a 1v5. Blood Rain hid behind the three warriors, one hand holding his bow and the other hand holding the arrow. His palm was sweating as he stared at Wang Yu, not daring to shoot. An expert at Blood Rain's level naturally knew what kind of situation he was in. The Grandmaster of Combat was like a ferocious beast that couldn't leave any openings. If he made the slightest mistake, he would be in danger of being instantly killed. If he didn't want to reveal any openings, he could only act as he did now. With the arrow in his hand, he could hold back Wang Yu for a moment. Without the arrow, it was very likely that the next Wang Yu's hand would grab his neck. The three warriors were also experts, so of course they understood this logic. They tightly gripped their weapons and took up a defensive stance, not daring to move. They were afraid that Wang Yu would rush over and kill Blood Rain behind them. Right now, the three of them were mainly intimidating because of Blood Rain's arrow. If Blood Rain died, the three warriors wouldn't be a threat to Wang Yu at all. Looking at the four motionless people, Wang Yu really had a toothache. After 2 rounds of fighting, Blood Rain's archery left a deep impression on Wang Yu. Not only was Blood Rain's shot extremely accurate, but his attack power was also very strong. In close combat, even Wang Yu was almost hit. At this time, Blood Rain was surrounded by 3 warriors in a triangular formation. The warrior in the front was a shield warrior. Even though Wang Yu had a telekinesis barrier protecting him, in 5 seconds, Wang Yu didn't think he could tear apart the defense formed by the 3 top warriors. So just like that, Wang Yu stared at the 4, looking for an opportunity to strike. As soon as the battle began, Bloodthorn entered stealth. At this time, Bloodthorn saw that Wang Yu's attention was focused on Blood Rain and the other 3, so he quietly moved behind Wang Yu. Bloodthorn took out a dagger and was about to stab Wang Yu. Wang Yu stretched his right hand back and grabbed Bloodthorn's hair. Chance! Seeing Wang Yu turn around, Blood Rain's eyes narrowed, and he shot an arrow at Wang Yu. Wang Yu casually waved his other hand, swatting the arrow down. At this time, Blood Rain shot 2 more arrows. At this time, Wang Yu had already turned around and threw Bloodthorn. Blood Rain's 2 arrows hit Bloodthorn, and white light shot out of Bloodthorn's range. Wang Yu bent down, kicked the ground, and rushed at Blood Rain. Pull aggro. Blood Rain hurriedly ordered the shield warrior. The shield warrior raised his hand to taunt Wang Yu, but an arrow shot from behind Wang Yu and hit the shield warrior in the head. The shield warrior's taunt was interrupted. Wang Yu stepped on the shield warrior's shield, leaped high, and used Eagle Stamp to go straight for Blood Rain. Blood Rain dodged to the side, and Wang Yu's foot missed. Wang Yu twisted his body in midair and kicked at Blood Rain's back. Blood Rain turned around and blocked with his bow, but he was kicked away. At the same time, he threw out a round object. Yang Na, who was behind Wang Yu, saw it and shouted, "Get out of the way! It's a bomb!" Wang Yu was in midair. Eagle Stamp followed by a roundhouse kick was already the limit of his dexterity. It was too late to dodge. Seeing that Wang Yu was about to be hit by the bomb, Blood Rain smiled and aimed at Wang Yu, preparing to shoot another arrow. But the next moment, Blood Rain's eyes flew out. "Here's something good for you." Wang Yu knew that he couldn't dodge in time, so he grabbed the bomb and stuffed it into the arms of a warrior next to him. Of course, the warrior knew what it was. Before he could throw it away, the bomb exploded, blowing the warrior half to death. "Fuck you." The warrior wailed and swung his sword at Wang Yu. But Blood Rain's bomb not only did high damage, but it also had a speed reduction effect. The warrior's slow attacks naturally couldn't hit Wang Yu. Yang Na shot him in the back of the head, and he followed his comrades. Seeing that Wang Yu could catch the bomb with his bare hands in that situation, Blood Rain panicked. He stopped attacking Wang Yu and turned to run. At the same time, Blood Rain ordered in the team channel, Retreat. Blood Rain's order was clearly low. With Chuanjin's ability, it wouldn't be easy to retreat after being targeted by Chuanjin's people. At this time, Sword Pointing the Heavens only had 5 people alive. Xiaoxiang Bladask and Heaven's Fist had been tormented by Wuji's group of 4. The 2 warriors were also targeted by Wang Yu and Yang Na. Their fates were obvious. Only Blood Rain didn't have anyone targeting him. He quickly fled. Just as Blood Rain ran to the end of the street, Mingjian Daoxiu suddenly jumped out, raised his dagger, and stabbed. Blood Rain hurriedly dodged. Then, Blood Rain felt a chill behind his back. Fish in the North Sea appeared behind him. Blood Rain turned into a white light in surprise. Mingjian Daoxiu sneered, "Humph, you want to leave after offending Chuanjin?" Chapter 696. At this time, on the Yu Huicheng forums, Big Brother Bear and Wait For Me were using their sock puppets to post. Baldy Chong. Sword Pointing Heaven. Wherever the sword points, there will be nothing. Chuanjin is like a stray dog, not daring to make a sound. King Gigi. Bullsh asterisk T Chuanjin. In the eyes of Sword Pointing Heaven, they are nothing. Radish Head. Breaking news. Chuanjin was blocked at the revival point by Sword Pointing Heaven. Yu Huicheng's first guild is going to change its name. These and such posts were like the Yellow River bursting its banks, flooding the entire page. The moderator couldn't even delete them in time. Of course, it wasn't just Big Brother Bear's sock puppets. Yu Huicheng had many players who wanted to watch the show and were also affected by today's events. At the start, when Chuanjin accepted the S-rank mission, Yu Huicheng caused a huge uproar. Later on, Big Brother Bear and Wait For Me announced it to the entire city, causing Yu Huicheng to be in an uproar again. However, at the start, most people didn't know much about it. When they heard that someone had exposed it on the forums, they all came to gossip. Chuanjin, didn't they accept an S-rank mission in the morning? Wasn't it amazing? How'd they get beaten up in the afternoon? TSK, I knew it. Chuanjin has been praised too much these days. How can a few dozen people beat a big guild? Yeah, they kicked a metal plate this time. Do they really think that every guild is as weak as Blood Alliance? The Blood Alliance is also old and doesn't have any real abilities anymore. It's better for them to point their swords to the heavens and find a group of professional experts to deal with the Chuanjin sect in a matter of minutes. Threads like these quickly filled up the forums of Afterglow City. Even the fans of the Quanjin sect couldn't help but break into a cold sweat for the Quanjin sect when they heard that Sword Points to the Heavens had brought out pro-level experts. Blood Red Warflag was also a person who liked to watch the fun. When they heard that Chuanjin and Finger at the Sky were being talked about on the forums, as one of the insiders, Blood Red Warflag couldn't help but comment on the situation. However, when they went on the forums, they were so angry that their noses were crooked. Damn, Chuanjin had been taken care of, but why were there more people from the Blood Alliance than the Chuanjin? Wasn't this just an innocent bystander? What kind of reasoning was that? No matter how cowardly Chuanjin was right now, the other side's foundation was there. They had a total of 10 players, and even a pro player had been dragged out. Even if they lost, they would lose with dignity. However, Blood Alliance was different. As a veteran guild, they were suppressed by a dozen people from Chuanjin. In the end, it was Finger the Heavens who came out to take revenge for them. Comparing the two, it was obvious who was stronger. Blood Alliance was in an awkward position. Even if Blood Red Warflag had hundreds of mouths, they wouldn't be able to explain themselves clearly on the forum. In the end, they were scolded badly and returned to the game angrily. Boss, big news. Chuanjin's players took care of Finger the Heavens players. Blood Red Warflag had just come online when Blood Red Warflag sent a message. Blood Red Warflag said with disdain, "Of course I know about this. 1 gold coin to sell 10 coordinates to Chuanjin. This business was personally accepted by me. No matter how badly Chuanjin was being slandered, Blood Red Warflag knew how strong they were. They couldn't deal with pro players, but dealing with trash players like Finger the Heavens was a piece of cake. If they're taken care of, then that would be big news. It's not those trash players. It's Blood Rain and the others. Blood Red War Flag replied. What? Blood Rain and the others? Are you joking? Where's Finger the Heavens? Blood Red War Flag heard this and immediately stood up, shouting in disbelief. Blood Red War Flag and Xuanjin had worked together before, and Blood Rain was the former captain of the Blood Red team. Blood Red War Flag had a very good understanding of the strength of both sides. It was hard for Blood Red War Flag to judge others, but with Blood Rain, Blood Red, and so many people from Finger the Heavens, Blood Red War Flag didn't think that Xuanjin's group would have a good time. Don't mention it, Blood Red Knight said. Finger the Heavens formed a team to search for Xuanjin, but they were ambushed at the revival point and didn't dare to leave. In the end, Blood Rain brought an entire team to capture Xuanjin's people, but they were surrounded by that old fox Wuji. Surrounded? Where did Wuji get helpers to surround Blood Rain's team of pro players? Blood Red War Flag was stunned for a moment. With so many people from Blood Alliance, Blood Red War Flag obviously knew that 3 people from Xuanjin were trapped at the revival point. At this time, Xuanjin had 8 combatants, and they had surrounded Blood Rain's team of 10. There had to be other helpers. Bloody Knight said, Hey, what kind of helpers are you talking about? There were only 8 of them, and they wiped out the entire Blood Rain team. 8 people wiped out an entire team of pro players? F*CK, Dark Knight, if you dare spout nonsense, I'll kill you. Hearing this, Blood Red War Flag couldn't help but shout. There was a huge gap between the terms amateur and professional. Only people like Blood Red War Flag knew what it meant to have 8 ordinary players wipe out an entire professional team. Blood Red Knight said, It's true. I was watching from the side. Otherwise, I wouldn't have believed it. Then how many people did Xuanjin lose? Blood Red War Flag asked again. Blood Red Knight hesitated and said, 0 casualties, plop. Blood Red War Flag sat down on a chair and said, 0 casualties. This is impossible. Even when Team Blood Red was at its peak, they didn't have such a record in the Pro League. How did they do it? They have Iron Ox. Blood Red Knight said, Iron Ox. Hearing Blood Red Knight's words, Wang Yu's tall and sturdy figure suddenly appeared in Blood Red War Flag's mind. Blood Red War Flag said in shock, Does this guy have strength comparable to a war god? In the pro circle, there were many experts. Blood Red War Flag had a clear understanding of Wang Yu's strength after working with Xuanjin a few times. He was a top-tier expert between quasi-god and god. He was only slightly stronger than Blood Rain. But hearing Blood Red Knight say this, Blood Red War Flag suddenly felt that they had underestimated Wang Yu. I'm not sure, but he single-handedly held off 5 people. He even had the advantage, including Blood Rain. Blood Red Knight said. Blood Red Knight's last words completely crushed Blood Red War Flag's nerves. After a long time, Blood Red War Flag said, Pass down my orders. Everyone, go to the forums and read the posts. Read what? Oh, the Quan Jun sect defeated the Heavenly Sword. Is this appropriate? Blood Red Knight was a bit hesitant. When Finger Heaven Sword was poaching our experts, we never thought about whether it was appropriate or not. Blood Red War Flag said. Blood Red Knight said, But what's the point of doing this? You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.